Morning, everybody.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Friday. Hope your week has gone well, and thanks for spending some of it with us. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Mark, how has your week gone?
You know, this week has gone incredibly quickly. For whatever reason, yesterday I'm like, man, Friday's tomorrow. This week has flown by. I don't know if we've kind of got a new schedule in the house. The daughter added another day of gymnastics, so now it's 3 days a week, not 2. I don't know if that has something to do with it. Then staying up late for some hockey playoffs. But it has been the week has just flown by.
Well, that's good to hear. So the extra day of gymnastics, does that replace softball winding down, or is that?
Well, unfortunately for softball, gymnastics is first for my daughter. That is her love. That is what she loves the most.
Gotcha.
I don't force her to play any sport. In my world, she could quit all of them. It would be more time I would have at the golf course. Let's be brutally honest here.
Right.
But she's kind of in between soccer and softball. We just tried out for a travel soccer team. We'll find out about that, I guess, next week. So I'm told, or we have. Maybe she didn't make it. I don't know. And Lord knows I don't care, David. But softball was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. Gymnastics was Tuesday, Thursday. The new gymnastics is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we've gone a whole season in softball. And unfortunately, she's had to miss the playoffs because gymnastics takes precedent in her world.
Right. Okay.
So we are just a one-sport kid at the moment. For now. Give it a couple of weeks.
Right.
We'll figure out something else to do.
Right. She'll be a 2-3 sport kid here soon. Don't you kid yourself. All right. Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Obviously, another night, NBA and NHL playoffs. We had a manager fired. Hey, hadn't had one of those this year. And I think this could start. You know how sometimes they say things go in threes? I have a feeling the Pirates may have started something yesterday.
You may be right, but, you know, David, when I look, and I'm sure it's the manager's fault that they've been shut out 7 times. I'm sure it's solely his responsibility that a team made up of double and triple A players can't hit major league pitching. Let's blame the manager when the owner won't spend a nickel trying to improve this ball club. I mean, I get it. They're bad. Let's do something. We're going to fire the manager. Great. You know, the Rockies, if they go fire the manager, man, I'm telling you, that's going to fix it. What I'd like to see is a team, you know, I don't know. You've mentioned Toronto for a couple of years, who's supposed to be better. The Minnesota Twins have higher expectations of where they are earlier in the season. But the Pirates, okay.
Mark, you know I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'll blame Ben Cherington, the general manager in Pittsburgh, as much or more than I'd blame Derek Shelton, who just got fired. I mean, Cherington's been on the job 5.5 years. I mean, they should be better than they are. There's no doubt the owner is holding the Pirates back. But, I mean, we could go deal. I don't want to turn this into a Pirate show, but Ben Cherington's deals have largely not worked out. They've drafted okay, but his trades have largely not worked out. And they should be better than they are, especially with the pitching that they have. The Rockies, I mean, my goodness. It would be great if certain franchises could get relegated.
Yes,
It really would.
To put the pressure on the ownership, because ownership's not affected by crappy baseball. They still get all the money from the Dodgers and the Mets and all the teams that are paying the taxes. You could do one of two things: relegation, which you and I both would love and we know will never happen. But I don't know how you pull off the second one. And you're smarter than I am, David. Maybe you can figure this out. But how do you penalize ownership and take away money out of the tax breaks that you get from not spending from the big spenders? You know, how do you say to the Pirates, unless you put an effort forth, you're not going to get the big check from the luxury tax that all these teams are paying?
I got it.
Okay.
I think I figured it out. Because we're never going to have relegation in major North American sports. We're just not. All right. The folks who pay the money for the franchises are not going to potentially have the value of their franchises cut by 80% overnight because their team got relegated. But Mark, how about this? In baseball, what's a really embarrassing line of demarcation in baseball? I think it's 100 losses. You lose 100 games in baseball, that's embarrassing. How about this? You lose 100 games in baseball, you don't get a dime. You don't get a dime. Not that year, you don't. You don't get a dime.
I love it. White Sox.
Yeah, last year.
Rockies.
Nope, not a dime. Rockies this year. Okay, it looks like Pirates are trying really hard.
Right.
Okay.
You know, Marlins have been there.
Not a dime.
That is something, again, look, for all of you that come on the show or Twitch chat room or the text line and say relegation, we are on your side. We would love it. There are no two bigger proponents of putting relegation in North American sports than Miller and Moulton. But we also are realistic. Right. As David pointed out, they are not ever going to do that. But they have no problem in any of our major sports leagues setting up financial parameters for how the money's spent or divvied up. That, David, has some teeth to it, because that then forces small market owners who don't want to spend money to put every effort into putting a competitive team on the field. And if you think that the White Sox, Rockies, and Pirates are attempting to put a competitive effort on the field, then you're sorely mistaken.
And listen, some teams do it intentionally. I mean, the Astros are in year 11 of a really nice competitive run here, where they've made the playoffs every year but one since 2015. But the Astros tanked for 3 consecutive years before the run started. They did it on purpose. Okay, fine. Then we're not going to give you the financial incentive, though. If you still want to do it, if you feel we have to get really bad, draft accordingly to get really good. And the Astros pulled it off. And then they cheated, but they pulled it off. Okay.
They weren't banging on the trash can during the draft. They just did that in real play.
Right. So, although, the one GM actually stole all the, stuff from the Cardinals, and then they also cheated later on down the road. So the whole Astros thing is fascinating, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, the Colorado Rockies are 6-31. Come on. I'm not playing around when I say this. If a AAA team played 37 games against the majors, how much worse do you think they'd be than 6-31? In fact, do you think a AAA team could do better than 6-31 if they played 37 games against major league competition?
David, you and I like run differential. Not only are they 6-31, they're minus 109.
Right. So basically, they lose every game by 3 runs, because 3 times 37 is 111. So the Rockies are 6-31. They're getting beat by 3 runs every night, which is like 40 runs worse off than the other awful teams in baseball. And listen, I just think it would be something out there that would be an incentive in which the owner's like, listen, we can't lose 100. I understand guys are hurt or whatever. We're retooling here. We can't lose 100. I'm not going to tolerate that. Heads are going to roll. All right. And then if the GM says, well, then we need a bat. If you want to guarantee that we're not going to lose 100, then you go and give me $10 million and I'll go find a bat. Okay.
You're on to something there. I like this. We may have to bring this up with David Sampson next week. He may laugh and scoff at us, but I don't know how else, David. And you could do this, I don't know how you do it in basketball or if you could do it in basketball. Hockey doesn't seem to have the problem of tanking. It just has bad teams. And football, we know. I mean, if teams wanted to tank, they would have lost the last game of the season last year.
Right. Please. There were multiple teams that cost themselves the first overall pick because they weren't tanking and they were winning meaningless games.
But in baseball, it's become a problem of have and have-nots, and the have-nots rely on the haves for that tax money that they get every year, despite putting out a product that's not worthwhile.
The Rockies are 6-31. The White Sox are 10-28. The Pirates are 12-26. Are you kidding? I mean, seriously, are you kidding? I mean, that's beyond awful by baseball standards.
Yes, and the Rockies and White Sox really have nothing. The Pirates is more disgusting because they actually have a competent pitching staff that could compete if there was any production. They've been shut out 7 times this year. In today's baseball, that's tough to do.
And Skeens got beat midweek by the Cardinals 2-1.
Which seems to be a normal game for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Miller
it is the baseball hour after all, so a little baseball coming your way early, but we will talk the association. Keith Smith will join us in the 7 o'clock hour, and it's a Friday. That means Pat Kirwan to talk the National Football League at 8 a.m. this morning. Plus, the starting 5 is a mere 25 minutes away, but when we come back, we may have buried the lead, and whose team does it help most? We'll try to answer that question next. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
That's a hell of a stat there, Mac. That's high heat for the morning. Understood. Who said fire all Rockies managers? Where did I say that? Did David say that? Did Mac say that? In fact, what I said, because you don't listen, and that I figured out. What we said was, why are you firing managers when the team does nothing to provide talent? I would be ambient. I think that's impossible to be that bad. Impossible. I'm sorry, Nix. You were right. I was wrong. I apologize, and I will not comment on anything. I shouldn't have commented there, and I will not comment on anything you say. Your chat room, bro. You're the best. I'm the worst. You bring positivity, and me and David just spew negativity. In fact, I'm going to shut that Twitch chat off so I don't even have to worry about it anymore. Sorry to the rest of you Twitch chatters, but I'm not paying attention anymore.
Oh,
Didn't have your mic on, David. Sorry.
it's all right. 4 teams on pace to lose over 100 games, and the Marlins on pace to lose 99.
All right. There. No, I like I said, it's your chat room, bro. I'm not attacking you. I'm not watching the chat room anymore. It's yours. You're the smartest guy here. I've never, ever met anybody as smart as you. And thank you so much for listening to our show. I'll be gone a couple days, and maybe you can guest host with David. It'll be better, David. Trust me.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour on this Friday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Now, we have Pat Kirwan on for a good chunk of the year twice a week because you guys love the NFL and Pat loves the NFL, and there's a lot to talk about. And we get into some nooks and crannies that, quite frankly, a lot of other people don't. So Pat comes on twice a week, and he wants to, and so we do it. We never have a guest on twice a week otherwise, except for Pat. I booked Keith Smith for a second time this week. He's an NBA guy that we've had on for years because, let's face it, we've been dead wrong. I mean, we went into the NBA playoffs saying it's going to be a foregone conclusion. It's Cleveland-Boston. We started the week by saying it's going to be Cleveland-Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. So we did the rare thing in which we said, hey, Keith, I know you were on Monday. Can we have an honest conversation about what it is we all missed, at least so far? Okay? Because he's an analytics guy also with Spot Rack, and he's on the YouTube NBA show. And so, can we just talk for about 10 or 12 minutes and go, so what have we gotten wrong again? So Keith's going to join us in a little more than an hour. And then Pat will join us in our 8 o'clock hour.
Fair enough. I wondered. I knew there was an angle. And he covers the Celtics pretty hard and has for years, and will have a lot of perspective as to why they have been so bad in the second half of, and particularly the fourth quarter of games 1 and 2, as they now go to New York. And I'm glad you brought up Celtics Knicks, because I am now trying to figure out yesterday what team gained the biggest advantage in the United States. If you're not a Catholic, you don't care. But yesterday, the white smoke billowed. And to tell you how different the world is than it was even when Pope Francis became our Pope, how did you find out who the Pope was, David? Was it my text to you that said white smoke? How did you find out yesterday that we had a new Pope?
I was completely unaware of the white smoke. I knew that we had black smoke twice.
Right, once during our show, actually, yesterday morning. The second one came, and then they went back for a third time.
Okay, so you were the one letting me know that, hey, they've made a decision, at which point I said, okay. And I turned on the TV, and of course, there were 7 networks that were all showing the same footage. And I'm like, well, all right, we'll sit here. This will take an hour, but what the heck? I'll sit here. You got me. Okay, I'm curious. All right, who you picking?
And, as someone who attends church regularly, my wife's a catechist and a Eucharistic minister. She's a very big Catholic. She was not at work yesterday. I'm like, honey, you need to come downstairs. I'm like, we got a Pope. We got a Pope.
Right. It's a big one for you.
And I'll be damned. He was an American.
Unbelievable.
50-1 shot. This was Giacomo winning the Derby.
In fact, what was yesterday? Today was the day when it was the long shot from 2 years ago.
Strike, 80-1.
Listen, I don't 50-1 my butt. An American being Pope in our lifetime, that's Rich Strike winning the Derby right there.
Exactly. Like I called my mother, who's 80 years old, and I said, did you ever think this would happen in your lifetime? She goes, no.
Same deal. My mom's 80. I said, "Did you?" She went, "Absolutely." And my mom's a Catholic. Absolutely not.
So we get a post from Guillermo, who's a longtime listener to the show. You actually had dinner and drinks with him in Columbus, I believe,
Yep.
when you were there for a college football game. He has done a couple. He's a lawyer. He's actually helped us out with a couple of things pro bono. Great guy, and he's been great to us over the years. So he sends a post to the two of us after Pope Leo is now the new pope from Chicago. And he says he's got to be a Cubs fan. And I'm like, yeah, how could you be a White Sox fan? Turns out he's a White Sox fan.
He is. Apparently his parents were Cubs fans, and apparently someone else in the family is a Cardinals fan. Okay, how ironic. Okay, but yes, he is according to his brother, who still lives in Chicago, he is a diehard White Sox fan.
But I found out that we had a new pope yesterday from Adam Schefter. And I'm not joking. Now, I do follow news people on X, but most of the people I follow are sports media people, teams, players, etc. And Adam Schefter puts out the picture of the white smoke. So a Jewish football guy informed me of who the new Catholic Pope is. That's number one. And there are times in which X is a cesspool. And I get it. I get why some of you don't like it.
Totally.
Yesterday was one of those days that X was fantastic.
Awesome.
Andy Agar, who is a sports, I don't know who she's working for now. She's made a name for herself doing very funny videos of college and pro meetings on Monday. She's a super attractive young lady. She's very bright. She's very funny. She posted, amazing, Chicago gets a pope before the Bears get a 4,000-yard passer.
Right.
He graduated from Villanova.
Correct.
Does that bode well for the New York Knicks with that Nova connection?
Mark, I am not kidding. Ed Sfida, who's Joe Buck's longtime stats guy, major Philadelphia sports fan, loves Villanova. He's an alum, met his wife there, and because he loves Villanova so much, he is rooting for the Knicks because of all the Nova guys they have on the team. And I am the one saying to him, listen, they're not going to win. The Celtics are better, and he is chastising me. And Mark, even when the Knicks won to go up 2-0, deep down in my heart, I did not believe they were going to beat the Celtics and advance to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. But now that a Villanova grad has become Pope, you're darn right the Knicks are going to beat the Celtics. You're darn right they are. In fact, they're going to the finals now. Oh, yeah. We've called in all the chips this year, baby.
I think it was Pat Forty, and if I apologized who posted it was wrong, said this is a big blow to Notre Dame to get beat to the Pope race by Villanova.
Yep.
Excellent. Greg Wyshynski, who's a regular guest on our show, covers hockey, simply said, can Bears fans take the name of the Lord in vain towards the Packers ever again? It was gold yesterday. That people were good. They were funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't the normal cesspool. People had fun with it. I hope people took it the right way. But I immediately, when I saw that he was a Nova grad, I thought of you, David, and said, damn, this has got to bode well for the Knicks.
In fact, I saw when they thought he was a Cubs fan, I saw people say, well, I got to bet the Cubs in the next game. Okay, they've got to be a lock. Okay, now that you find out the new Pope's a White Sox fan, the White Sox celebrated by losing 10-0. Although I think they may have technically lost before he was officially named Pope.
Or during.
Right.
Yeah, I think the game may have already begun when that happened.
Right.
But yes. So a Chicago Pope that went to Nova. All right. Now we're talking.
By the way, they're digging up his political history. Okay, what party he was registered in, what primaries and general elections he voted in based on voting records. I don't know if they ever did that with the other popes from the other countries. I'm just guessing they didn't.
Well, some of the countries that the popes came from, you're probably not allowed to vote, David. So there's that.
Oh, that's true. There were a couple of non-democracies involved, but yeah, right.
So the Knicks' chances to me have gone up
Skyrocketed.
substantially. And what's shocking to me is that yesterday the Celtics were a 5.5-point favorite on Saturday, and the lines remained the same. I think you need to take a look at that 5.5, and maybe, just maybe, the Knicks can take care of business over the weekend. Miller and Moulton. We will talk about that Knicks Celtics game in the 7 o'clock hour with Keith Smith, Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour. The starting five, that's what we do next.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Feel free, everybody, to just email me your resume tapes, and I'll get them set up for David for co-hosting when I'm out of town.
But you have to be able to be producer and chief.
No. They can do whatever they want. They're
Got to keep
much smarter, they're better, and they know more, David.
Got to keep us on the air. So I guess he's got what? The older brother lives in Port Charlotte. The younger brother still lives in Chicago.
Yeah, is it just two? For some reason, I thought it was a bigger family than that, but I'm not
Could
sure.
be, but I'm just.
Yeah, I know that because NBC2 or Gulf Coast News had the brother on yesterday.
So, older brother lives in Port Charlotte. Apparently, he's lived there 4 years. Listen, I'm an only child, so I don't fully understand. In fact, I may not understand at all, but I will say that's so you're having lunch yesterday and he's just the brother, and an hour later he's the Pope.
Well, and I mean, they had mentioned the American guy, but I mean, he, you know,
Come
the guy from
on.
Africa, you had the guy from the Philippines, you had 2 from Italy, you had 1 from
Yeah,
France.
come
Are you
on.
kidding me?
American wasn't going to become Pope. What are you kidding? I actually, I'm sitting in front of the TV for 40 minutes and they haven't revealed who the person is yet. I step away for a couple of minutes. My wife, not Catholic, my wife finds me and goes, "They just elected some 69-year-old from Chicago." I went, "What?" First thing I did was text my mom. "Did you think?" "Nope. Not in my lifetime." I said,
No
"Hell, I
way.
didn't think in
I didn't
mine."
think in mine. That's crazy.
Tim, what did Dumick do? Matt, who do you think did a worse job, though? Derek Shelton or Ben Charrington? Who do you think did a worse job, Ben Charrington or the owner? I mean,
And I'm sorry, Nix, this is the only thing I'm going to say to you ever again. You come in this chat room every day and attack a 25-year-old. I'm curious how old you are, and I don't know how good that makes you feel attacking someone every day. Every damn day, you come at Ambient. If that makes you feel good, I think it's pathetic. I think it's absolutely pathetic that your first thing is, hey, let's attack a kid. What are you, 50 years old, 40 years old? How old are you? Does that make you feel good? Do you feel strong by coming in here and trying to disgrace someone who joins us every morning who just simply loves his teams? Is he over the top with his love for the teams? Hell yes. He's also 25. You do it every damn day. Don't act like you don't. Don't play passive aggressive with me. You do it every day. We're not that dumb. No, I asked you how old you were. How old are you? Because you act like you're 10.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Keith Smith in an hour. Pat Kirwan in our 8 a.m. Eastern hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. A lot went on in the sports world yesterday. Not as dramatic of a day as, well, all the others, quite frankly, from this past week, but still quite eventful on and off the field. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the Starting Five.
We'll start with hockey. Caps even their series with the Canes. It's funny. Game 1, Caps were up 1-0 going to the third, lost in overtime. Game 2, they're up 1-0 going to the third, but then John Carlson, a power play goal. Tom Wilson added the empty netter to seal the 3-1 win to even their series at a game apiece.
Very different game, though, you must say.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington led game 1 and Carolina dominated. Last night, late in the first, Washington started to find themselves, started getting some offensive pressure, and Wilson, man, he's a pain in the you-know-what, but he had a great game last night. Some really good defensive plays. He was, as usual, agitating self, and then had a goal. It was a monster game for one of their leaders.
Tom Wilson has become the Draymond Green of the NHL, only more of a scorer. Tom Wilson this year scored over 30 goals. He used to just be a pain in the butt guy, the type of guy you needed on your team. Okay. Sometimes he'd cross the line and be dirty. Most of the time he was just edgy. Okay. Very Draymond Green of him. This year, though, he scored like 34 goals.
That's a great comparison. I would never say sometimes dirty. Pretty much always dirty. I mean, he's a tough guy to like, but he's effective. There's no doubt about that.
And the Caps and Canes are now even at a game apiece. And man, oh man, they're supposedly not as good as they were last year when they got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. They were down 2-0 in the first round at the Kings and trailed in the third period of Games 3 and 4. In fact, they've trailed now in 6 consecutive playoff games. But despite blowing a 4-2 third period lead, the Edmonton Oilers did it again. Connor McDavid weaves his way through the whole Las Vegas team and then sets up Draisaitl into an empty net in overtime. 5-4 Edmonton over Vegas. They lead 2-0.
Did you see how badly he undressed Eichel going around him? The first move at the blue. I mean, he's going 60 miles an hour, so I don't know who the hell's going to stop him. But you looked at the score sheet, there was no McDavid for the whole game.
No.
And I don't think there was a Draisaitl sighting as well. He may have had one assist, but there was nothing. They were getting their scoring out of their bottom six and able to get it. You know, Vegas comes back, and you just can't keep a good man down forever. And Connor McDavid, who had a lot of chances in the game, finally makes the great pass, and Draisaitl buries it.
5-4 Edmonton. They'll come home now with a 2-spit lead in their second round series. Tonight, Panthers trailing 2-spit against Toronto. By the way, Stolarz, the starting goalie for the Leafs, not even making the trip to Florida. Yeah, he's got a concussion. He can't fly. All right. So it's going to be Woll, the backup, for games 3 and 4 at the very least. 7 o'clock.
Sam Bennett's got another goalie to run. We'll get him to their third goalie before long. I'm telling you, I'd be pressuring the blue paint all night long if I were Florida. I'd bump them. I'd hit them. I'd do everything I could.
Hey, Panthers need to keep the puck out of the net. That's why they're down 2-0. They need their goalie to play better, but also they need to do a better job defensively. They've scored 7 goals in the first 2 games and don't have a win to show for it. 7 o'clock TNT, Leafs and Panthers. Second game is Dallas and Winnipeg. Stars up 1-0 in that series. One other hockey note yesterday, kind of a big story. Joel Quenneville, second winningest coach in the history of the NHL. He was the head coach of the Blackhawks when they won 3 cups. 4 years ago, he was coach of the Panthers. The turnaround in Florida began with Joel Quenneville as head coach. He had to resign early in the 2021 season when it was fully emerged that Quenneville, as coach of the Blackhawks, when they had a sex abuse scandal, knew about it and didn't do a damn thing. The GM, Bowman, Quenneville, others, they all ended up being forced to quit their jobs in October of 2021. Well, everybody had returned to hockey except Quenneville. Yesterday, the Anaheim Ducks hired Joel Quenneville. And by the way, Anaheim actually is a pretty good-looking young team that's just about ready to win. From a coaching standpoint, this is probably really going to work. But the fact that Joel Quenneville's back in the league has raised a few eyebrows. Apparently, the victim of the sex abuse signed off on it. That Quenneville and he have done a lot of talking in the last 4 years, and that the victim signed off on Quenneville going back to work.
It's a stain, and a bad stain on the NHL, and I am surprised that Quenneville is coaching again. The timing of this is fascinating, David, because north of the border, they're in the midst of a huge hockey sexual assault scandal involving their junior team from a few years ago. There are several players that are being held on trial for a sexual abuse of a woman that happened at a junior tournament, I think the World Juniors a few years back. And so the timing of this, David, is fascinating to me.
So 66-year-old Joel Quenneville, who's been in the playoffs 20 times as a coach, head coach at Anaheim. One NBA playoff game last night, wasn't much of a game. The Warriors without Steph Curry, well, they're not a playoff team. And Minnesota got up on them early and often cruised to a 117-93 win. Julius Randle with 24 points as the T-Wolves shot 51%. Series tied at 1. Steph's out a week. Game 3 Saturday. And as Mark pointed out yesterday, there's no big layoff in the Warriors T-Wolves series. It's every other day. So you got to figure Steph misses games 3 and 4 easy. He probably also misses game 5. Will the Warriors even see a game 6 without Steph Curry? I mean, this is where, if you're Golden State, honestly, if you could just get a split at home,
it would be huge, David.
Find a way to get to game 6 and see if Steph can come back with a hamstring strain. First one of his career, by the way. 2 NBA playoff games tonight. Interesting. Mark, what would you think? And maybe you already know it. Cleveland down 2-0 at Indiana. Who's favored and what's the spread?
I do not know. I've been just watching the Boston Knicks spread. I'm going to guess that the Cavs are favored by 2.5.
They're favored by 3.5 at Indiana, down 2-0. Denver, meanwhile, is a 5.5-point underdog at home to Oklahoma City. That's the ESPN doubleheader, NBA playoffs tonight, 7:30, 10 o'clock. OKC and Denver tied at a game apiece. Baseball, first manager got fired. It was Derek Shelton of the Pirates. They're in the midst of a 7-game skid. They're 12-26 on the year. He had been there over 5 years. Bench coach Don Kelly gets promoted to be the interim manager. On the field, Phillies with 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, to send it to extra innings. Then they score 2 in the 10th and hold off the Rays 7-6. That's a 3-game sweep. The Rays fall 5 games under 500. Twins sweep the Orioles. In fact, Twins have won 5 in a row. Orioles have lost 5 in a row. 3 in the 8th for Minnesota, 5-2 over Baltimore, who's on pace to lose over 100 games themselves. Red Sox shut out Texas 5-0. This Rafael Devers story is fascinating. Remember during spring, Red Sox signed Alex Bregman. Devers is a third baseman. Bregman's a better third baseman. They say to Devers, can you move to DH? He's not happy about it. Then he embraces it. Well, now a month or so into the season, the Red Sox first baseman tears his patella tendon. He's out for the year. Red Sox go to him and say, hey, would you mind switching and playing first base? And he goes, no, not going to do it. You guys told me to put my glove away. I put my glove away. Okay. He literally said out loud, hey, general manager, go get a first baseman. That's your job.
And it makes him untradeable when you act like, what are you going to get for him?
Well, he is one of their best players.
Oh, I understand that, but he's basically acting like a spoiled child that wants to take his ball and go home. When you try to trade that type of player, no one's going to give you fair value for it if you wanted to get rid of him.
Well, I guess you know that he'll only play one position. You just have to determine what that position is. And Rafael Devers had a homer and 2 RBIs yesterday in the 5-0 Red Sox win. Royals shut out the White Sox 10-0. White Sox are 10-28, by the way. Still 4 games ahead of the Rockies, but they are 10-28. Royals have won 15 of 17.
They're 2.5 back of the Tigers in the Central.
But despite winning yesterday, the Royals lost half a game to Detroit because Detroit had a double dip in Colorado, and they didn't just beat them twice. They embarrassed them twice. 10-2 and 11-1. The Rockies are 6-31. Tigers have won 6 of 7. Colorado's lost 6 in a row.
70 years the last time the Tigers went double-digit runs in doubleheader game. 1957 was the last time they pulled that off.
Sad news off the field, remembered mostly as a Tiger, played 7 years with the White Sox, 9 in Detroit. Chet Lemon, standout outfielder on the 84 Tigers that won the World Series. Chet Lemon died in his Apopka home yesterday at the age of 70.
You know, to your line to your mother-in-law when you first met her, what do you think of the Methodists? They play good defense and they're strong up the middle. That 84 Tigers team played good defense and was really strong up the middle.
You mean
Lance Parrish, Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell, and Chet Lemon.
Yeah, and you needed to be because Tiger Stadium may have been pretty short down the lines, but center field was huge.
440 at the old
Right.
Tiger Stadium.
Braves with 2 in the bottom of the ninth to tie it, win it in 11 over Cincinnati, 5-4. Do you know the Reds have played 4 extra inning games this year and have not scored in any of the 4? Starting with a runner on second, nobody out, and they haven't scored a run. Toronto down 4-0, came back to beat the Angels 8-5. And Gabriel Moreno with a grand slam for Arizona. Diamondbacks 5-3 over the Dodgers. Ohtani did hit his 11th home run of the season. So he's on pace for like 46 homers. What a disappointment. NFL, little history made yesterday. Texans wide receiver Jaden Higgins, a second-round pick, gets a fully guaranteed 4-year, nearly $12 million contract. First second-round pick to get a fully guaranteed contract. Panthers cut Jadeveon Clowney. College football, FCS teams in 2026 are going to play a 12-game regular season, and Mark Miller's been saying it for 2 years. College football playoffs headed to 16, folks. They're going to skip 14, it looks like, and go right to 16. That word came out yesterday. Golf, the Truist Championship outside of Philly. Keith Mitchell, a 9-under 61. He has a 1-shot lead. The rest of the PGA Tour's in Myrtle Beach. Mackenzie Hughes, 8-under. He has a 1-shot lead. Our buddy Frankie Sappin is even. George McNeil is 2 over. Probably got to get to 1 under, maybe 2 under, but definitely 1 under if they both want to make the cut. LPGA Tour in Jersey. Liberty Golf Club, that's the beautiful course there right along the Hudson with the New York skyline in the background in Jersey City. Thailand's Gino Thittikul has a 2-shot lead at 8 under. And finally, there's no such thing as retirement in boxing. Manny Pacquiao at age 46, having been retired for 4 years, is coming out of retirement July 19th to fight Mario Barrios for the welterweight title.
Oh, goodness. You know how much I loved Manny Pacquiao as a boxer in his heyday, but come on.
Yeah, since the Mayweather fight, he hasn't been anything. And that wasn't that fight like 10 years ago?
Right.
Yeah.
Other than a bad homophobe. I mean, that's really all he's been in the last 10 years.
So I'm going to back up the truck on Barrios, but you guys can do what you'd want. And at 7 minutes before the hour, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories and Manny Pacquiao unretiring here on Miller and Moulton.
We'll come up with a poll question here shortly. Probably work on that during the break. Keith Smith will join us in about 45 minutes' time, and Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, tadalafil, and Viagra, sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made, at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Who was it there? Pius. So, where were you fishing?
Off his dock.
What was the bait? What were we going for? You know, this is like, morning TV and radio here. I mean, this is like time and temperature and traffic. I mean, come in with a little fishing update.
So, and I may repeat this on air if we talk about golf, but a guy that I know, an acquaintance, David, not a friend, but he posted on Facebook yesterday, and I don't know how you pronounce the course that they're playing on, Wissahickon, I guess, in Philly.
Okay.
He's like, I've walked the grounds of Wissahickon, Lord knows how many times in my 7 years there as a caddy. I caddied for a lot of really great players in my time. There's currently 11 guys 6 under or better. I've never seen a person go lower than 67 there. I don't think people can fathom how good these guys are at golf. They're hitting 6 and 7 irons into the 18th hole, which most of our membership struggles to reach in 2 with a good drive and a good fairway wood. And they're playing it from 40 to 60 yards behind where most players play from. Absolutely wild. They treated that course like a pitch and putt yesterday, David.
It looked like it. And today they're getting an inch of rain this morning.
Right.
It's
overnight they got rain. They're teeing off this morning before the rain's come again. Yes.
I mean, it's going to play longer, but it's going to be a dartboard.
A dartboard. And I was listening to, what's his name? Bhakta. You know what I'm talking about. The skinny guy.
Akshay Bhatia there, or Bhatia. I'm
watching an interview with him, and they asked him, because I guess this is a brand new course. They've never really seen this course. He goes, it's all pretty much right there in front of you. Other than a couple holes. He goes, unless there's blind tee shots, it's just right there in front of you. 430, they're hitting 3 woods off the tee. It's just ridiculous.
By the way, have you seen some of the yardages at Oakmont coming up for the U.S. Open? For what some of the par threes are. And the shortest par three at Oakmont's like 185. 3 of them are all 200 plus. I think there's only 2 par 5s on the course. They're both over 600 yards.
One of Maddie's assistant coaches in softball, and he wasn't there a ton, but he's a pretty good golfer. He just played Oakmont, and he's like a 4, so he can play. He said it, he goes, you have no idea. He just played there. He's like, that is so hard. He goes, that is just ridiculously hard. And that won't be a fun watch.
I don't like the Opens at Oakmont. And I worked the Open at Oakmont and didn't like it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Hope you've had a good week, and we thank you for, well, ending it with us to a degree. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. This is the one time today, I always ask once a show, it's part of my charm for you, Mark, and our audience to humor me. Can this be the humor me segment of the day?
Sure. I have no idea what you're going to talk about. So you want me to put a laugh track in?
Well, I don't know. And I mean, for that matter, it's also, ladies and gentlemen, sponsorable. Okay. Starting 5, good, bad, and ugly. Some of our little vignettes, all sponsorable. The daily humor David Moulton segment can also be sponsored. Okay. Here's where I want you to humor me. So the college football world, and it was a shock to Miller and Moulton, especially Miller, that they're going to go right past 12 and go to 16. I mean, I don't know how anybody could have seen this coming, yet somehow Mark Miller did. And
no sarcasm there, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, no, I will say, though, I mean, there weren't many people that were earlier on the wagon than you. Okay. I mean, you were early. I think they had announced 12, and you said, yeah, next one's 16. They hadn't even played the 12-team playoff once yet, and you went, oh, we're going to 16. Mark, they're only talking about 14. Oh, they're going to 16. So guess what? They're now talking about going to 16. So based on the committee's final regular season and conference championship game ranking. Now, remember last year, just because you were ranked in the top 12 doesn't mean that you got a spot in the playoff. Okay, Alabama was 11th, but because of automatic bids for conference champions and how many wild cards were left, Alabama actually did not get a bid at 11, while Arizona State, who finished 12th in the final poll, got one because they were Big 12 champions. All right. Clemson finished 16th in the final ranking, but they got in because they won the ACC title game. Okay. So, Mark, by going to 16, one figures that the only job the committee is going to have is to rank them 1 through 16. And that'll be it. Okay, we're not going to, after this year, they're not going to hold out certain seedings for certain conference champions. The thought is, Mark, that 1 through 16, unless by chance the fourth highest ranked conference champion is out of the top 16, but that would seem to be a stretch. That an ACC Big 12 champion, out of the top 16, and the Mountain West champions also out of the top 16. Anyway, so Mark, based on last year's final ranking by the committee after conference championship weekend, this is what the home playoff games would have looked like, with one playing 16, 2 15, etc. 16th ranked Clemson would have been at Oregon. 15th ranked South Carolina would have been at Georgia. Not ideal conference matchup, but hey. 14th ranked Ole Miss would have been at Texas. It's another conference matchup, although I don't think those two teams played in the regular season. 13th ranked Miami would have been at Penn State. Now, that would have been fun. And obviously, a rematch of a pretty famous Natty, albeit almost 40 years ago. 12th ranked Arizona State would have been at Notre Dame. 11th ranked Alabama would have been at 6th ranked Ohio State.
Giddy up.
10th ranked SMU would have been at Tennessee. And 9th ranked Boise would have been at Indiana. Indiana's dream season would have gotten yet another break.
Maybe. But certainly better than what they had, no doubt.
And just getting the home game.
Yep. Absolutely.
So does that interest you? And I don't just ask you, Mark. I asked everyone else as well. Like, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Clemson at Oregon. South Carolina at Georgia. Ole Miss at Texas. Miami, Penn State. Let's see, that for me, that'd be big thumbs up.
Well, in the Indiana-Ohio State game, David, I think most of us would be thumbs up for this reason and this reason only. How many first-round games did we play last year?
4.
This is 8.
Yep.
The odds of us getting a few good games are substantially better when you double the amount of games that are played. So, I mean, this is clearly better. I love the idea of no buys and everybody has to go earn it. And it also rewards teams' great season with another home game. And what this very well may do is help the SEC get to 9 games, because the SEC is going to figure we're going to have at least 4 more home games, or at least 2 more home games every year in the playoff.
Mark, remember just yesterday when we were talking about the story of it looks like ESPN is willing now to pony up the money to have the SEC play a 9th conference game in football, not just 8. And that we had SEC fans chiming in going, I don't know if I like that, and will that affect how many teams the SEC gets in the playoff? Because now we're potentially scheduling more losses. If we had been a 16-team playoff last year, I don't know if you were keeping count of who the top 16 were, but 6 of them were SEC. 4 were Big Ten, 2 ACC, actually 3 ACC because of SMU, my bad. Okay. Big 12, 1 Notre Dame, Mountain West.
I don't think that may have. The one thing about this, David, that I think you've got to pump the brakes slightly on last year's 16 is that it has been talked about a lot. And what I have read is that this is included with the 16-team playoff, is that the SEC would get 4, is that the Big Ten would get 4, but the ACC and Big 12 would be guaranteed 2 each.
Right. But see, when you say 4, that's not a lid on 4. That's a guarantee of 4.
That's 4 bids that they are guaranteed to get.
Right. And that's 12 of the 16 that are guaranteed.
The group of 6 would get 1 at-large bid, and that would mean there are 3 at-large bids left. Notre Dame, obviously, if they get the necessary wins, we know they're going to qualify. But that then always is going to leave a minimum of 2 other teams to get into the tournament.
And those 2 other teams, by the way, last year would have both been SEC teams.
Now, the part of this that I'm curious about if it happens, they are not going to, just like we began the show talking about baseball and relegation, these conferences are not going to give up the conference championship game. There's too much money at stake. But what is being floated out there is, instead of a championship game for 1 versus 2, is the possibility of playing a 4-5 game for an automatic bid. And I don't know how much of an appetite as a sports fan we would have for that. We may, if it's a winner get in scenario, that it's the Dayton play-in game, essentially, in the Big Ten and the SEC, where we've got Iowa taking on Wisconsin in one game and Ole Miss taking on South Carolina in another game. You wouldn't get the number 1 team. You wouldn't get the number 2 team. But that's some of the ideas that are being discussed at the conference level. And I don't necessarily love that. I'd love them to get rid of the conference championship games altogether. But David, you and I both know that's not going to happen.
No, it is not. There's no way the SEC and the Big Ten will get rid of their conference championship games. It's a pure cash cow. Not only that, in the SEC, their fan base loves it. All right. It's all about getting to Atlanta. Just like back in the day, it was all about going to the Rose Bowl in the Big Ten. That's all Big Ten fans talked about, was going to the Rose Bowl. It wasn't about winning a natty. It was going to the Rose Bowl. And if by chance they were good enough to be in contention for the natty while going to the Rose Bowl, great. In the SEC, for a long time now, all it's about is getting to Atlanta.
An SEC fan, if they took away the conference championship game from you to have some form of a play-in game, what would that do to the SEC champion, or the SEC play-in game instead of a championship, when it's not all about getting to Atlanta? And you may have changed completely in your fandom about that, because now it's all about winning a natty.
I will say, going to 16 makes, in my estimation, Mark, the conference championship games entirely meaningless.
Entirely. Both of those teams are getting into the playoff every year in the Big Ten and the SEC.
And there's no advantage to winning the game. I mean, if you want to argue there's a slight advantage because you'll host a slightly inferior team based on ranking in the first round. But remember, you're both getting home games. I mean, Georgia ended up the 2, Texas the 3. You know, how much? Remember, it's not like Georgia would then be home in the semis. Okay, there are no more home games after the first round. We go neutral sites for the final 7 games of the college season because we have to keep the beloved bowl system intact. See, to me, this would make conference championship games. You could argue the Mountain West title game would have meaning, you know, possibly an ACC Big 12, possibly, but probably not.
I think those games would matter, David, because it would be for a home game more than likely. The winner of the conference championship game would virtually be guaranteed a home game. The loser may have to play on the road, but that's it.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
To all of Twitch chat, I apologize for blowing up, but I have reached my boiling point with that particular listener. Everything is an attack. Everybody sucks. Everything's bad. And for 4 hours of it, I just can't take it anymore. I need a little more positive. I don't need you guys to tell me the show's good. I don't care about that. But it's just a constant attack of everything, and I just can't handle it anymore. So to you guys, I genuinely apologize. I appreciate all of you. I really do. I've met a lot of you. I've talked to a lot of you. I try to answer you honestly and openly. So for that, I apologize for losing my cool, but I just kind of had it. And many of you have texted me privately to ban him from the room, and I won't do that. Got an idea for a poll question today, David? And Wes, I'm in a great mood. I got a great night's sleep. What I didn't watch, I watched all the highlights of this morning. I'm ready to do a show. I'm fired up in that fashion, but I'm in a good mood.
Ask folks how many teams should be in the college football playoff, 12, 14, or 16?
Or 4.
But we never go backwards. Come on now.
I know. But you could ask, in your eyes, what is the perfect number of teams in the college football playoff? 4, 12, 14, 16. But you're right. We won't go back.
Well, yeah, because, like I think the number's 6. But Wes, it's because we're appreciative of everyone who listens. We don't have a show without you. And so that's why we don't have to like everything that you say, and we don't have to agree with everything that you say, but we don't have a show without you.
But it's one thing to disagree. It's enough. And yeah, I guess I'm protecting Ambien a little bit, but every day he comes in and just attacks someone who's, and I know Ambient's a man. He's 25 years old. I don't get it. we all watch Ambient. What a diehard fan is of his three teams. It's low hanging fruit. It's easy. Be better than that. Be an adult.
Sonny, we brought it up earlier. I still did not think the Knicks were getting by the Celtics, but now, come on. Don't you think we've cashed in all our chips? Even though he's probably a Bulls fan, but still.
You know, I heard something yesterday, and you've never really mentioned it, David, but the fascination of the Knicks is that, you know, obviously there's the Yankees and the Mets. There's the Giants and the Jets. There's even I don't really count the Islanders in that as much, but because if you do that, you'd have to count Brooklyn. But I started thinking about that, is that they galvanize kind of around the Knicks, is, you know, these suburban franchises, if you will, have nothing. The Anaheim Ducks, the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, they just have nothing because they have no national power at all. I mean, they're just little community teams, if you will.
Yeah.
Outside of the Packers, who have been there for a gazillion years.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Keith Smith in a little more than 15 minutes time. We began the week talking to Keith about the NBA. All of our predictions have been wrong. And Keith, who covered the Celtics very closely for the last half dozen years, now he covers the league as a whole. We're going to try to go back 4 or 5 days and go, what did we miss? What have we gotten wrong? Or what numbers just stand out that we never saw coming? Keith Smith, a little NBA talk in a little more than 15 minutes. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour to talk all things NFL. So you asked me, Mark, selfishly. It was a little just, Miller and Moulton moment earlier in the show on air when, you asked me just as David, the Knicks fan, with all the key Villanova guys that are on the Knicks, and now the Pope from America and a proud Villanova alum, whether or not I, a Catholic, thought that now with the Pope in our corner rooting for the Nova Knicks, that whether or not now the Knicks were a team of destiny and they were going to go to the finals for the first time in 26 years and, God forbid, actually have a parade for the first time in 52. And I said, absolutely, Mark. This got me over the hump. I was still picking Celtics in 7, okay, as of noon yesterday. But once the American Villanova alum Pope walked, okay, out of the room and onto the balcony, I'm like, it's done. It's over. We're going to the finals. Here's the problem, though. We have two very strong forces at work. And I don't think it's a poll question because I don't think people would have a sense of humor about it.
No, the poll questions are pretty much a black and white type of thing. There's no sarcasm. There's no humor. It's just out there.
But if by chance you think that now, okay, with a Villanova grad as Pope, that will help propel the Nova Knicks to go places where they haven't gone in forever. That's the positive force that could be at work. You know how I like to reference the sports gods, okay? Like I said, we've called in a lot of chips here. A lot of chips if you're a Knicks fan. However, here's the negative energy to combat all of the chips that we just called in. All of the New York national media people who are becoming unbelievably obnoxious, led by the loudest voice with the biggest platform of them all, I mean, if you didn't care about that team or this series, you're a Celtics fan already. Already. They haven't even played a game in New York yet. I mean, my goodness, Mark, the national media. Okay, yeah, we got our Boston clicks. But oh my goodness. They've become obnoxious. I'm a Knicks fan. They're obnoxious. I can't imagine being a non-Knicks fan.
It is a hell of a dilemma, David, because you have the media who now are unabashed Knicks fans. I mean, blatantly rooting.
Yes.
On a national platform. And that drives David more crazy than it drives me. But then you have the element of the Boston sports fan. And come on, if you're not from Boston, the Boston sports fan can be tough to handle.
They
so
can.
you have an element. Oh, and by the way, the NBA is turned into the NFL. I don't know if you saw any of the videos from Boston of the brawls in the street.
I know.
After the game.
Come
what
on.
the hell? Like
come on, people.
I couldn't imagine going to a road game anymore wearing something of my team. You know, I mean, I could go to a game and root and walk out and be quiet. No one would know who the hell I was there rooting for if I didn't have the garb on. But basically, if you have your team's garb on the road, it's basically an invitation to get sucker punched. It's something else right now. It's terrible.
And maybe because of what you just brought up, that there is, the Boston sports fan brings a certain charm to the equation, and people may be anti-Boston because of their fans. Okay, so maybe the Knicks will get a pass if they could get through this round. But Mark, the national media is already so obnoxious. Can you imagine how many people are going to be rooting for Cleveland or Indiana if the Knicks get to the conference finals? Because they'll be like, oh, shut these people up already. We can't have this team win any more games. I can't take this.
And we are not giving the New York sports fan a pass here. But largely, when you think obnoxious New York sports fan, you associate that with what team? The New York Yankees, not the Knicks. They haven't won in forever.
No, they've been.
The New York winning is one team. It's the Yankees.
Right.
I get it. The Rangers got their one. The Giants have gotten a couple. But I mean, New York winning is the Yankees. Boston winning for a generation was damn near everybody.
Yeah, they all won cups this century or titles. I mean, the Red Sox have won 4. The Bruins won the 2011 Cup, went to 2 other finals. Boston's won twice, went to 3 other finals even. So, yeah.
And then there's their football team that I heard did pretty well this past generation.
I heard that the 2000s were good to the Patriots. I did. I got that memo. But, oh, my goodness. I'm literally, I'm getting excited because I didn't think this was possible. And I would like they haven't been to the conference finals in 25 years. I mean, there's a lot of comparison between the Knicks and the Dolphins. I mean, honestly, both had their heydays in the 70s. Both haven't done much since. Have had, Marino took them to certain places. The 90s Knicks went to the finals twice. But Knicks haven't been to the conference finals in 25 years. I'd love to see them get to the Final Four. I can't imagine them actually playing for the championship. It'd be awesome. I'm nearly 60. It's been a long time. But man, oh man, I'm watching all the commentary going, oh my goodness. Guys, am I going to... stop it already, please. Go home. Go back to your basement. Stop. Shut up. Take these people off the air.
And imagine if somehow they get game 3.
Oh.
I don't think they will. I think the Celtics will prevail in game 3. And despite Pope Leo's alma mater having many of its players on the Knicks, I'm still picking the Celtics to win the series. I think they come back and get it done. We do have a poll question up, by the way. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? They're going to expand to 16. They skipped over 14. We still leave that as an option for you. 12, 14, or 16. Miller_Moulton on X. That Mark Miller, soon to be at the David Moulton as well, as soon as he's able to answer and retweet said question. We will talk more association coming up. Keith Smith will join us on the other side. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour to talk the NFL. You can always text the show. 21,000 is the number. If you haven't texted in a few months, you need to type the keyword Miller to 21,000. Then you can text as much as you would like. We would love to hear from you. Miller and Moulton.
All right. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. All right. Now I'm worried. I'm worried that Stephen A. Smith and company are going to be able to overrun Pope Leo the 14th. That's how worried I am.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Did you watch any of the basketball game last night, David?
Not after the first quarter.
I don't blame you. And I just had it on the other TV, so I wasn't paying much attention. But Draymond got teed up again.
I saw the incident.
And then went nuts. He should have gotten another tee after. And then I just happened to see a clip after the game where he's like, I'm sick of them trying to portray me as an angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. And Omar Kelly was the one who retweeted it and said, as someone who is often confused as an angry black man, I'm taken aback by this. It's his on-court behavior is why he's portrayed at that. I mean, it's like that. I love Draymond, but man, oh man, he gets away with so much after the. Should have got tossed last night.
Draymond is allowed to do more after getting his technical than any other person, coach or player in the league.
Coach or player.
So Francona gets ejected last night and didn't know he got ejected. Goes back into the dugout and he's hanging out. The umpire's got to walk over and goes, "We tossed you from the game." He goes, "What?" Yeah, Sonny, I think that's asking a little too much of the Pope.
We left that right over the air. Good job, Mark. I'm just having a hell of a morning. We'll repeat all that on the air anyhow. So,
okay.
Well, all that Draymond stuff, that's relevant with Keith coming up. So, God dang it, Mark. Get your shit together. God dang it.
Yes, Sonny, there is a great photo of the Pope at the World Series, which is kind of sobering if you're a White Sox fan. It's already been 20 years. Let's see. Probably not. He would have been like 29.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until Pat Kirwan joins us at the top of the hour to talk all things NFL. We welcome back Keith Smith. We've never done this before where we've had him on twice in the same week. And we did this to kind of, try to find a reason or two as to why Miller and Moulton and to some extent Keith so far have been so wrong on the Eastern Conference playoffs. Keith, who covered the Celtics extensively these past half dozen years, covers the NBA as a whole for Spot Rack, and he's a part of the NBA front office show on YouTube. You can follow Keith on X at Keith Smith NBA, Keith Smith NBA. Keith, first off, thanks for doing this again this week. And secondly, okay, we mentioned that you know the Celtics as well as you know any team in the league. Okay, what in the world is going on that doesn't normally go on with them Never mind go on with them against the Knicks.
Yeah, I hate to boil it down to basketball's most basic fundamental, but they're not making shots. And these are not to take everything away from the Knicks, because they have had moments of real brilliance defensively where they've locked in and made really good plays. The Celtics are missing a lot of open shots. They're missing 3-pointers, a lot of them, but they're missing 2-pointers, whether it be mid-range, followaways from post-ups, whether it be shots at the basket area, little flip shots in the paint. None of it is going in right now for them, and that's the single biggest difference for them from the way they normally play. Sean Grandy, who is the Celtics play-by-play voice on the radio side, had a tweet where never in the franchise's history have they shot as poorly on open shots and 3-pointers as they did in the last 2 games. So really, we're watching history, and not in a good way for Celtics fans.
And yet they've built 2 big leads, and there to me was a big difference between game 1 and game 2. Game 1, it seemed, Keith, that they were still firing up threes, not taking any time off the shot clock, and almost just chucking it like it was a playground game. Game 2 in the fourth quarter, they didn't play that way with the ball, yet the same result happened. What do they do differently in game 3?
Yeah. Part of what happens is in these fourth quarters, this looks like the team we saw blow multiple leads as they built up to eventually winning the title, where it becomes a completely different game. Did they play slow? They walk it up the court. Every shot is a contested shot late in the shot clock, and that's not how you want to play either. So I think what they need to do is, one, you need to play the same way in the fourth quarter as you did quarters 1 through 3. Whatever got you the lead, let's kind of keep it going. And then from there, it becomes a whole situation of, all right, we got to stay locked in defensively on that end of the floor, because they are regularly not, playing the same kind of defense that they played earlier in the game. They're getting loose. They're letting guys get free. It was OG Anunoby in game 1, Mikal Bridges in game 2, and then both games Jalen Brunson when he came back in to close. So they've got a lot of things they can clean up. But I'm glad what you mentioned with the building the lead. The Knicks, I think, are looking at this and saying, hey, we're very happy, right? We're up 2-0. We had 2 huge comebacks. But to even fall behind by 20 in both games, we've got a lot of things we can do better as well. And that's where I think Celtics fans that are just banking on, well, we're going to make shots and we're going to, win these games. Maybe that's true, but the Knicks have stuff they can do better as well.
Yeah, particularly offensively. I mean, the Knicks actually have played 2 bad offensive games, except for a few minutes in a couple of fourth quarters, and they're up 2-0. I mean, this is remarkable. We did mention it, Keith, to give ourselves a little bit of cover. We did mention we thought the Knicks defensively would be different with Mitchell Robinson. They played 3 of the 4 regular season meetings without him, and those were the 3 blowouts. The one lower scoring, really competitive game was when the Knicks got Mitchell Robinson back. Okay, he's mostly a defensive player, but he's made a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you see is you get kind of 2 completely different looks when he's in the game versus when it's Karl-Anthony Towns. When it's Karl-Anthony Towns, and the Knicks are doing a little bit of a different look with him too, where they're playing him up higher. They're giving some switches, but they also, when things aren't really going their way, they revert back into the drop coverage with him. But with Mitchell Robinson, he's so athletic. You're able to come all the way up to the level of the ball. When Boston runs pick and roll, he's right out there, and we've seen him blow up a few different actions because he's out there, getting deflections. He's able to stay in front of the ball handler when they come off the screen. He's just, a game changer on that end where oddly enough, he hasn't had a huge impact is on the offensive glass. And I think if you'd ask most Celtics fans, what's one of your biggest worries? It was like, yeah, we're going to be able to keep Robinson and Towns from feasting on the offensive glass. Largely, they've done okay with that. It's just, Robinson's defense isn't really big. Celtics have tried to counter it by fouling him, but I think better in game 2 than in game 1. Tom Thibodeau was pretty aggressive about, all right, we're not going to let this game grind to a halt here as we're starting to come back. I'm going to get them off the floor, and then that'll be how we'll play it out.
All right, let's switch to the other Eastern Conference semifinal, Cleveland and the Pacers. Cleveland is really banged up. 3 guys hurt, and now the Pacers up 2-0 at home. What can Cleveland do to get back in this series?
It's going to be really tough. This is when I've talked about these 2 series together, because they're both sitting in the same spot as far as the games. It's been Boston just needs to play better, and they have a chance to still win this series. Cleveland, there's some of that, but the injuries are just really tough. I know there's word that Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter, who are, if people don't know, that's 2 starters and basically a starter-level reserve who plays a huge role. They're going to try to play, it sounds like, in Game 3, but nothing that was said by the team and Kenny Atkinson gives me a lot of hope that, they're really ready to go and they're going to be having a huge impact. But if they can just give them something, give Donovan Mitchell a little bit of help, they'll be able to be in it. I mean, they were in position to win both games, but really game 2, if you go back and rewatch over the last 2 minutes, everything that needed to go wrong for the Pacers to win for the Cavs, it all wrong. And everything that the Pacers needed to go right went right. And that's where, if you're Cleveland, you're like, we were right there, and now we're going to get a little bit of help. That's what you're kind of buoyed by. But I don't know that those guys are just going to lock in. And then Indiana, they tend to be pretty tough at home. So that's another challenge that the Cavs are going to be facing as well.
And Keith, we talk about this a lot on our show, an organization's window, and how sometimes it closes unexpectedly. Okay, we know the Celtics are going to look a little different next year. They're probably going to keep their big 2, and they're going to unload some salary around it. So they won't be as good, but they're still going to be a legitimate contender. Keith, this Cleveland situation, most people don't want to be in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell, he signed, but he can get out soon. Those young guys are facing whether or not they're going to sign the big money long-term extensions there. I mean, there's no guarantee that this young core of Cavs remain this young core of Cavs. The Knicks are probably going to remain the same team for the next 3 years. The Pacers are locked and loaded for the next few years. Is this the best Cleveland Cavaliers team we're going to see for a while?
It's certainly possible. I always say one of the hardest things for an NBA executive, general manager, president, whatever the title is knowing when to go. If you wait too long, maybe you don't ever get there. And guys, you wait, you get too precious with your own players and your own draft picks, and then you don't get there. If you wait too long, if you go too early, you guys weren't ready for that, and now all of a sudden that window never opens. For Cleveland, I think they're looking at it, and they have to be feeling a little bit like, here's Boston on the ropes. They've handled New York with relative ease themselves this year, and they've got to be looking a little bit with injuries and poor play. Now we may not get through. And to your point, yeah, Donovan Mitchell did a shorter term extension. That was more about trying to get himself to 10 years of service so he can really maximize his contracts and the like. They do have Mobley and Garland locked up, but in some ways that could be a hindrance because Evan Mobley, winning Defensive Player of the Year, jumps him in salary tier, so he's going to be making more money. Where I think the Cavs, we probably get another year at least with this core group, and if that doesn't get through, that's where it gets challenging. But where it's going to be hard is a guy like Ty Jerome has been great for them this season coming off the bench, and now we're in a spot where they might not be able to bring back because they're so tight to the Brands and all of things that go on with them because they've been so aggressive about extending other guys. This is a challenge in the NBA now of, how can you make your window be more than a 2 or 3 year window before you have to do a reset?
I don't know if Golden State can get it to a game 6 without Steph. But last night, Draymond again with his antics. And by the way, I love Draymond. I'm a Michigan State grad. I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. So is he on both accounts. I am a huge Draymond fan. However, he gets away with more after a technical than any player or coach in the league. And then he complains and says, I think his comments after the game were, they're trying to portray me as an angry black man. You get away with murder after your technicals. He may not get to a game 6 if they do, because he's bordering on getting suspended again. How does he get away with so much after his tees?
Yeah, I wish I could answer that. I think it really is a matter with the officials as a whole, meaning the entire official pool. They know this guy's probably going to pick up a technical. And then it is, the referees do not lightly eject players. Like, you'll often see, they'll give a guy a tee, they'll let them say their piece a little bit longer, and then they try to move on. They don't want to be throwing guys out. But with Draymond Green, it's almost like he dares them, and he knows that. And no other player, and I'll include LeBron James, who, if anybody currently playing, has earned the right to continue to go at officials. It's LeBron with a 20-plus year career. Draymond Green will pick up a technical, scream and yell, stomp around, jump up and down like a petulant child, and nothing ever happens. And I didn't appreciate they want to make me an angry black man. I don't care if you're green or purple. It doesn't matter. Like, you're just out there acting like an idiot, and he picks up these technicals that it hurts the team. Like Steve Kerr, you could tell he's like, look, I'm in year 10 or whatever number it is of this, so I get it. This is just going to be how it goes, and we've all collectively signed up for it. But yeah, I have no answer for you, like why they let them do what they do, other than the officials really just they want to avoid throwing them out of games if they can.
Keith, finally, OKC at times has just been dominant. They had the bad stretch run at the end of game 1. Do we think Denver makes this a long series, or do we look back at this and say Oklahoma City choked away one game and then they took care of business?
I think it's going to be maybe the latter. I picked Thunder in 5 ahead of the series, and I think what we saw was you saw a Denver team knowing we have to win one here in Oklahoma City to even give ourselves a chance. And I think the Thunder, maybe after, let's face it, they coasted through the Grizzlies series with very little challenge. I think the Thunder were feet up, for over a week while Denver battled. Denver came in, even though they were maybe a little tired, more sharp, more focused, more ready to go. And the Thunder just kind of, they didn't go away when we blitzed them. But then you saw in game 2, I've said all year long, the Thunder flipped a 5-point deficit to a 15-point lead in the blink of an eye. And then what happens very regularly is that 15-point lead turns into 30 and 40. And I'm not going to take too much out of it, because it was pretty clear midway through the second quarter. The Nuggets were like, this is done. We're pulling the plug. Like, we're not going to invest a bunch of energy in trying to turn this into a game. Like, let it just go. But I don't know that they've got the horses to keep up with the Thunder when they play anything like their normal level.
Keith Smith, Spot Rack, NBA's front office show on YouTube. All right. Follow him on X at Keith Smith NBA, Keith Smith NBA. Keith, really appreciate you doing this. Have a great weekend. Safe travels. Keith Smith joining us. Pat Kirwan next.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. You have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Mark. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Always good. Just kind of a chilling weekend for me, so I'll watch some Everblade games tonight and tomorrow.
They're on the road, right? Because they
got two more up there in Orlando. And
did they already play game 3?
Yeah, they lost it. So they finally lost it.
All right, so we might have a series. Hopefully for your sake, Orlando can get one more and give you a game 6 back at home.
Yeah, Monday night hockey.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep. Otherwise, working on this time of year, we start just going position group by position group. It's funny, like it's kind of grinding, a little bit boring, but the freaking callers love it.
Well, I think, from a listener standpoint, I know why you do every position. And I know it's probably the most popular one. The quarterback one, to me, is one of the more irrelevant ones because we all know the quarterbacks, kind of, sort of. I love when you guys start getting into the trenches because I certainly don't know offensive lines team by team as well as I should. And so I love when you start getting into the O-line and the D-line. Yeah. And that stuff interests me more than the quarterback because I think I've got a decent grasp on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's the easiest one as quarterbacks. And
Right.
Jim was driving from Michigan to Florida, and we had to start. And I said, "We'll just do the quarterbacks. It's easy to do." And you already know a lot of guys. Really, with the quarterbacks, all I want them to understand is, A, your starter's not good enough, which most of them know. But B, if you don't have a real number 2 guy that can come off the bench and play, you got a problem. That'd be Miami. And see, are you developing a young guy? So if they get a sense of that, we're fine. But I love when we get into the whole line.
Pat, I like Mark. I am much more interested when you start talking about the depth in the position groups, particularly like offensive linemen. Does this team have a quality swing tackle? Do they have a quality interior guy who can also play center? Like that stuff I eat up.
Yeah. And it always leads us to criticizing the teams, which is most of them, that only activate 7 guys, which we talk about on this show a lot. But that one is the hardest one. I'll work on it all weekend because it's a lot of guys. You're keeping 8 or 9 guys, 32 teams. You can do the math.
Also, it may sound ridiculous to say, but the numbers don't lie. I mean, it adds up to what it adds up to. I mean, you could think whatever it is you want to think, but if I'm listening to you give the scouting report and I'm agreeing with it, then I have to agree with the number.
Yeah. And we get more guys. The guys who are listening yearly, they get the system and they can almost identify how they grade a guy. And they're pretty close now. They get the feel for it. Like 12 is the highest number you can get for a quarterback starter. And there's only 7 of them. And I try to explain this to the guys. Sorry, you think there's 15 guys that are 12? The NFL owners know that there's not. So they start to realize. Even I thought that we made some breakthrough with a guy yesterday. And he said, "Yeah, I love my quarterback in Washington, but he's not a 12 yet."
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton on this Friday. We're halfway home in the 239 and the 904. Final hour of the show, Lake City, Live Oak and surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice and surrounding areas. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. All our guests join us on the American Paint Supplies hotline. Pat Kirwan joins us, sponsored by Pinchers. Pinchers, Tampa to Key West and all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. How are you?
I'm doing well and everything's fine. And we're just settling into the spring/summer. And before you know it, we'll be talking about camp tour stuff once that schedule comes out and we know when everyone's going to start camp. We already know a couple teams are going in early. So, yeah, I'm working on position groups, which was always a spring drill for the pro personnel guys, which when I was in that department, that's what you do. And you get ready to assess every roster so you can strategically be scouting preseason games looking for specific players. Like we already know that Pittsburgh's now looking for a receiver. We know the names on the list, but how about this to the listeners? 61 veterans have changed teams that are called wide receivers. 61 are on different teams than they were last year. Then there was 32 draft picks. And there's 77 college free agent wide receivers. That's 170 guys that we got to get some kind of record on those guys and figure out what they mean and their value and how many are going to make teams. You figure 75 of all those 170 will make a team, and you got to start looking at them differently, especially if they switch teams and they're in different offenses with different quarterbacks. So that's the fun of it all. But you got to get, as you guys like to always tell me, you like when we get into the offensive line and the D-line, and we try to explain to the listeners what you really need to have a roster. And I so many of them don't get the room part of it. Who's in that damn room when the season starts? Because we know they're going to run out of players before it's over.
No doubt. And obviously, the wide receiver room in Dallas is very different. How much did Mike Tomlin hate George Pickens to essentially get rid of him for 11 spots in the draft? I mean, because they would have gotten a third-round compensatory pick if they would have kept him. Now they're going to get a late third-round pick from Dallas, 10, 15 spots different probably for 1 year of service at a position of need. This screams, get this guy out of here.
Yeah, they've been looking to move him for a while. And once they came to the decision they were never going to extend him, that they realized it's time to go. And he is. And I think for Mike personally, because Mike really tried to help that guy and went above and beyond. He and Najee Harris are his two guys that where he was close to in the sense of trying to get them to understand who they are. And Najee wasn't a bad guy, but George is. But so who's Mike? Mike's the guy who had Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson, Martavis Bryant, Chase Claypool. He finally learned his lesson. Don't wait. Say goodbye. There's the door.
Well, don't you think, though, that it genuinely affected the room? Like those wide receivers you mentioned, Ben was the quarterback, and there were other key Steelers. Not that there aren't key Steelers now. And yes, Pat, the Steelers scheduled that second half of the year was brutal. But when they were losing, and they were losing by 2 or more scores in all these games, that screamed to me that the room was not right. Not bringing back the 2 quarterbacks, moving on from Pickens. This screams to me that Tomlin knew he had a room problem.
He absolutely knew he had one, and he knew he had one in 2023. And what I was told was if we can get a third, and they couldn't get a third before the draft, but they got one after the draft. He said if we can get a third, he's out of here now. And they got what they wanted and take it easy. And they don't care about the compensatory. They do care about it. So the irony is, if you go back and look, and you guys will probably already do it, if you go back and look at George's fines, you know that those captains said something to Mike that, what are we doing? We're trying to win this game, and George is getting fined like crazy. I think 4 or 5 of his fines were just against the Bengals. And ironically, 2 of his biggest fines were against the Cowboys. They know what they're getting. Now, you know Jerry. He thinks he can fix everybody, so he's taking on the project. But Pittsburgh actually believes and are committed to the concept of team. And if you're an individual, they're eventually going to get rid of you because they don't think that formula works. So, look, they can go out right now. Amari Cooper's out there. Tyler Boyd's out there. DJ Shark's out there. They can get a veteran receiver. And maybe they'll trade for Alan Lazard. A lot of guys think they will. And I will say this about Rodgers. And I know I said it to you guys before, but I've been privileged to hear a couple of realities of what's going on. And I've decided I am not going to criticize Rodgers anymore. He'll eventually be in Pittsburgh, or he will not play football. But he's got enough things that are on his plate that are legitimate that I am not going to criticize him anymore. I'll leave it at that.
All right. From Dallas's standpoint,
yeah,
I think we all liked what they did in the draft. They made their team better, and they did it on the interior. They got a really good defensive lineman. They got a really good offensive lineman. People wanted them to get a running back or a receiver. Now they go out and trade for a receiver that's in a contract year. This should be theoretically, Pat, the best George Pickens you're going to get because he's trying to play for a contract. But with a new coach and trying to establish some sort of chemistry in the room, and which is hard to do with Jarrah breathing over your shoulder, are they, in your opinion, going to get the best version of George Pickens there is?
My answer to that, Mark, is they're going to get it in flashes. He's that talented that he's going to have a couple of games where you just go, wow, because he does on occasion play like a true number one. And when he's hot like that, he's very hard to handle. But he has a other crazy button, and he's not going to get the balls thrown to him, not with CD Lamb getting all the balls he gets. So will he be able to control his emotions when he's not getting the ball? And that's where I think the liability will be for those guys, because everyone likes to say, and I always laugh at this, well, he's in a contract year, so he's going to play great. He's also in a contract year and knows he's not getting a big contract if he doesn't get big numbers. He'll have a meltdown if it's December and he's at 45 catches.
Listen, it's real easy to pick on Jarrah. Okay, he's earned it a lot. over the last 15 years. But, Pat, so they gave up a third, and let's just say it's a mid-third round pick, but they're going to get a compensatory third for Pickens when they don't re-sign him, or if they don't re-sign him. And they give up a fifth and they get a sixth. I mean, if we're assessing what they gave up in trade value, they essentially gave up like a fifth round pick to rent George Pickens for a year. I'm okay with that.
Well, that's all true if they don't re-sign him. But they might re-sign him, and then away goes the compensatory. So
right,
yeah. So I don't ever like say, hey, well, it's only a fifth, because they might re-sign him, and guess what? That money's going to be. So yeah, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't tolerate individuals. The Dallas Cowboys do.
Yep. That is true.
There's no doubt. I mean, you couldn't be on opposite ends of the spectrum more than the Cowboys and the Steelers when it comes to that. That's absolutely true.
I mean, Dallas ought to have a sign at home for wayward boys. I mean, that's what that is.
Well, in that case, should they go get Jadeveon Clowney? Because he's played for nearly every team in the league. He was released yesterday. Is there still football left in this guy?
Yeah. And, he's had some years where you really can appreciate the raw talent. He's not going to work at it. He hates going to camp. But that guy can skip camp, show up 5 days before the opener, and have a sack and 2 hits on the quarterback. He's pliable. He's bendable. He's explosive. Yeah, there's a couple teams. First off, again, I think I've cried this speech too many times on your show, but I'm still looking for the guy opposite Miles, and he's already had that job once before. If he was on that team, what do you think? What would his production be if he played 17 games opposite Miles?
Well, didn't he have 9.5 sacks opposite Miles?
I knew you'd know the number there, David. Well done. Yes. Isn't he the kind of guy that should be opposite him? And now his financial leverage is gone?
Well, then wouldn't he be pretty good opposite Hutch in Detroit?
Yes. The problem with that one is that coach has a work ethic issue where he's not bringing on any guys that don't do it his way. Now, I think that Clowney would do fine in Detroit. I think the culture there is now built. Belichick did a lot of this. Once he built the team and they were Super Bowl champs, he took risks then. He brought guys into that locker room and knew they were surrounded, that particular person would be surrounded by his guys, and they wouldn't go bad. And if they went bad, he got rid of them. He didn't care. Yes, Detroit, Cleveland. I still think Chicago needs a guy. So
I think Buffalo needs a guy.
You and I talked about this. Bring back Von Miller. That was our vote before this happened. I think I would bring him up there too. So he's going to get one. And what will he do? He won't play full time, but he should be good for 6 to 8 sacks. He's very disruptive. He can make a quarterback get off his mark whenever he wants to, which is sometimes.
Pat, we got about a minute and a half before our first break. Are there any running backs out there? Like, when the Cowboys made the trade for Pickens, okay, you got your number 2 wideout. You don't have a running back. I mean, besides Nick Chubb, and if I was Dallas, I'd bring Nick Chubb in yesterday. But who out there at the running back position?
Gus Edwards is out there. Was it 2 years ago he had double-digit touchdowns? He's out there. Amir Abdullah is still out there. Jeff Wilson's out there. Chase Edmonds is out there. Dearness Johnson, JaMychal Hasty.
I like Dearness Johnson.
I was going to say the same thing. It's amazing. And I was reading about it. He's 29 already. I mean, he's approaching that age where you're done with him.
But not a lot of wear on the tires, though.
Nope. So I think the one thing about what I just read out, to go along with Chubb, of course, is that there are guys. And now, what do you want? Are you looking for a guy that's got third down skills? Are you looking for a guy that's the power back for the short yardage stuff? I like Gus Edwards in a lot of ways. He's very physical, and I'd be fine. And the other thing is,
got about 10 seconds.
Baltimore, when they got in the same problem, they signed 2 guys. Why would I sign one? Get two of these guys because they're going to be cheap.
Gus Edwards, Dernish Johnson. Bring him in right now. He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's Moving the Chains on Miller and Moulton, courtesy of Pinchers.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You getting in some golf today, Mark?
I don't think he heard
got a
that.
texter who said Clowney to the Bucks. I don't think that's the worst idea I've ever heard.
No, I don't
Nope.
either. And there's a coach that can handle them.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a team also that I think would be fine with his practice schedule, and I think they'd be fine with it.
Yeah. He's still a guy that the O-line coach will be talking about on Tuesday night when getting his protections together. And if you can cause that kind of guy to be thinking, okay, now what are we doing about Clowney? Boom. You've already got value from the guy.
If Levante David and Vita Vea are okay with it, you can bring them in.
Yep, I totally agree. Yeah. And for a second, think about the quarterbacks he'd be rushing. He could be a real menace for the kid in Carolina, the kid in Atlanta, and God only knows who's going to be in New Orleans.
Well, you can't tell me he won't be more productive than Joe Tryon, Soenka or whatever his last name is. I mean, he's only on the team because that's an ego thing for the GM. He doesn't want to cut him and look bad. I mean, the guy's terrible.
Hold on. While we're on that, did you see the quote from the GM about the kind of guys he's willing to sign?
Which GM? That one?
Down in Tampa?
Oh, no.
Well, you can look it up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when he said basically assholes.
Dirtbags and assholes.
Dirtbags and assholes are off the list.
No, he said, I'm not opposed to signing them in certain situations.
Well, who was
Maybe,
the GM? But
maybe that's the prelude to getting Clowney.
Who was the GM, though, that came out and said, was it Howie? Who was it who came out and said, basically, we put our board together and then we eliminate all the dirtbags and assholes?
Well, I know that's not Cincinnati.
Right.
I didn't see it, so I can't recall who said that, but I know guys that are like that. But when I saw Jason's comment about I'm not opposed to signing them in certain situations.
Oh, really? Someone in our Twitch chat room says, so Tryon Shayanka's on the Browns now? Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
My bad.
Brownies. That guy. Joe never really, he never became much more than a 4-sack, 5-sack type of guy. You're never going to run protection to him. With Clowney, I thought some of the best stuff Clowney did was when they line him up and they loop him inside, he comes right up the A gap. He is a real problem. He's a good stunter.
It's funny. I know he always likes to line up at end, but we were talking the other day about Justin Tuck and how when the Giants moved him inside, guards couldn't handle him. Passing situations, you put Clowney inside, he's way too quick for a center or a guard.
Yeah, and he's good at doing it standing up. And you know, the one year that he played without J.J. Watt in Houston, I think he had 9.5 that year. He never got to 10.
No, it's funny.
But he played pretty good.
He's going to have a 12-year career and never have 10 sacks.
I know. He knows what the line is. And he's lost so much money. You know, he's never, you know, people would love to pay him, but they don't have to. Talk about losing money. How about Deontay Johnson? 1-year deal, totally 100% unguaranteed.
Yep.
Oh, my God. You talk about fall from grace.
In a year.
Yep.
Yeah, this league moves on pretty quickly.
Yeah. And no one ever thinks of when it happens, but you go through that little list of former Steelers, they all faded away quickly. George, pay attention.
Well, the other thing is the Steelers have a great wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Coming at you from the Floormeisters studio. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, which is weekdays 3 to 7 on Channel 88, Sirius XM. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh.
Pat, I know you're starting to get into breaking down each team and their areas of need. When you look at we've talked about the receivers and we've talked about the running backs, but when you're about the interior, and we briefly talked about it off air of teams' offensive and defensive lines, who's out there from a free agent standpoint that can still help? Because those are pretty thin areas.
They are. So to me, what'll happen when I get deep into the linemen this weekend, I'll be looking for their swing guard / center and the swing tackle. And both of those guys should not be rookies. They're not going to get a lot of reps at practice, and they're going to have to line up and play, and sometimes for a month or two. So in the offensive tackle business, which they've been chipping away at it, George Fant's always around. Chris Hubbard's always around. Isaiah Wynn's always around. They signed Noteboom in Baltimore. That was a smart move. And Baltimore has a couple of good rookies, but they also know that they need those guys. Humphreys is gone. Jedrick Wills, there's a guy who fell off the face of the earth. On the guard front, none of the names will excite you. Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, Andrews Pete, I think he retired. Quisenberry gets signed every year, right about now. Will Hernandez, Brandon Sheriff. Now there's a guy at this point I would love to have him on my team because he's got a work ethic. He's tough. He probably can start. In the center world, David Andrews, who played forever in New England, is out there. One or two other guys. Nick Harris, I think, still out there. So you can get a guy or two. Here's the world for your listeners. The GMs don't want to sign any of the guys I mentioned right now. They want to get halfway through camp and really just give all the reps to the young guys they just drafted or signed as college free agents and then decide. The coach He already doesn't like any of those guys, and he wants those veterans. So when you go in and say, "Hey, Mr. GM, we need Brandon Sheriff," well, we'll talk about that about August 10th. Well, he'll be gone by then. I've had these arguments, and I used to side with the coaches. I get what they want, but most GMs, especially if they're not in charge if they're in charge of the draft, they want the young guys to get all the reps at least through 2 weeks of camp.
Can't you do a little scam, though? Can't you sign the veteran now who then's going to go, listen, I don't want to do the first 2 weeks of camp? And you look right at him and go, you won't. We'll say you've got a back or a hamstring injury. We'll give all the snaps to the 5th round pick. Don't worry about it. We just want you. We don't want to lose you to somebody else. And then on August 15th, you decide it's a non-guaranteed deal. Okay, so if you want to move on from him, you move on from him. I mean, none of the guys that we're signing right now are going to get guaranteed contracts unless they're on the roster week 1. So can't you kind of fudge it here a little bit with some of these guys?
Yeah, I think a couple teams do a nice job of just not working those guys in the summertime. Baltimore's done it. I go to those camps, they get guys standing still on the sideline, going full speed at nothing. But yeah, you can. When you ask a guy to do it, a little like the sheriffs of the world are going to say, I'll do it because I want to do that. But you're not going to be able to cut me at the end of the summer. If you have me stand there because you're seeing if that young kid's developing and then you're going to decide to let me go, I won't be coming to you.
Pat, the Dolphins have a issue on their line, but they think because of their drafting that some of these younger players are going to become better. Pittsburgh, same thing. I believe 3, if not 4, of their offensive linemen were drafted in the last 2 years. How much improvement comes, particularly at the line, from year 1 to year 2 or year 2 to year 3? Because when I look at the Dolphins and Steelers, they're both dependent upon 2nd and 3rd year guys making huge steps forward this year.
I love the question. And the linemen in general, everything's can't be a generalization, but in general, they're very diligent about their own progress. And I know that because Paul Alexander still coaches about 40 offensive linemen, and not just guys for the draft. Once he has them for the draft, they end up staying with him and continuing to take tutelage from him all off season. Now, he had a lot of guys in this draft. He had Membo, he had Banks, he had Zabel, he had Donovan Jackson, he had Connerly. So those guys are going to be his clients now throughout their career. And Paul watches them play on Sundays, and and here's the other thing about Paul. Paul knows every line coach in the league, so he knows what those line coaches are looking for. And he's done a lot to influence teams drafting, why they draft guys and the kind of guys that'll fit what they do. So most of the linemen, I talked to Fries yesterday. He's a great story, Mark, to your point. He was a 7th round pick of the Colts, was just a practice squad grinder, scout team guy, then eventually gets a little chance to play. His first start ever is against Tennessee, and they got a pretty big, bad guy at defensive tackle. He played well. He stayed on the field. Now he's at the Vikings, and he's making – I went through his contract the other day for the listeners, and he's making about, close to $40 million or something for his deal. So they will work, those guys. They will absolutely keep grinding till they make it. You can't kill them the way they go. They're not like a lot of other position groups. And ironically, they have the highest Wonderlic score by position of any position on the team.
Did you like Savanea? And did
Yes.
Paul like Savanea, the guy that the Dolphins gave up a decent amount of draft capital? I mean, gave up their 3rd round pick, gave up their 4th round pick, and then had a pick swap. I mean, they gave up a lot to move up the 6-8 spots that they did to draft a guy they now figure is a starting guard. Do you like him?
I do like him. He's physical. And to me, they're thinking like the Saints thought with Breeze, right? They got a quarterback who's in the pocket, who never runs, and he's got a great arm, and you need to give him the time to throw. So back in the day of Breeze, remember how big the guards in the center were in New Orleans?
Huge.
Yeah, and I think they're just trying to build an interior wall so this guy can stay in the pocket and throw. He only ran 17 times last year. Think about that. One per game. And he fumbled 7 times. So they're going to do that. They're going to build the wall and let the guy, throw behind it. I wish I could say they did it so they get a better run game, but I don't think they will do it.
That's all right. He wouldn't commit to it even if they had it.
Yeah, well, I left that open for you to say. Mark and I were thinking it.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains. CBS's NFL Today show schedule comes out next Wednesday night, although there's going to be nothing but leaks over this weekend and official leaks allowed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we'll have plenty of schedule news the next time we talk to Pat. Pat, have a great weekend.
Take care, fellas. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you next week.
Pat Kirwan joining us courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Keith Smith and Pat Kirwan, our last two guests, joining us on the American Paint Supplies hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Yeah, Pat gets nitty-gritty into it with the positional breakdown. They started the quarterbacks, and that, as he said, is probably the easiest one. We all have a pretty good gauge on who the best quarterbacks are and where your quarterback ranks. I'm sure there are some of you that will be interested because you may have a mid-level guy to see where Pat and Jim rank them. But to me, when it gets into the line, that's when I'm interested, because that's where your team is made and where games are won and lost to me. And I think you look at the Dolphins, they're going to need a big jump out of some young offensive linemen coming this year.
Young is the key. Their projected starting offensive line are all between the ages of 21 and 27. If they could finally get it right, they could be in good shape for a long time. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. MillerandMoulton.com. With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Sunday was a horrible loss. Well, 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th to force extras and lose.
Yeah, I would have lost a lot of money because I would have bet the Rays yesterday, figuring they'd get 1 out of 3.
And they were up,
I'd have just that would have
5-1 in the 5-1 in the 8th. Philly scored a lot of runs in that series. I think 2 7s and an 8.
Well, don't get that excited about sweeping the Rockies, Sonny. Everybody is sweeping the Rockies.
6 and 31.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. The bonus hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our poll question today. Word came out yesterday that, the powers that be in college football, I mean, they were going to go from 12 to 14, but why stop there? How about if we just go straight to 16? And some of us never saw it coming.
Shocking to me.
I mean, Mark was just blinded, mouth agape.
Yes.
Okay. Had to pick it up off the floor. Yeah. I think Mark saw it before they saw it by 2 years. So anyway, it led to our poll question, and we know, and we've gotten many a feedback. I think the number's 4. I think the number's 6. I liked 8. We don't go backwards. Name the sport, name the league that has gone backwards with their playoff system, in which they said, you know what, too many teams are in the playoff. We're going to reduce it. All right, so we're at 12 now. So we just asked you, which number do you prefer, 12, 14, or 16? Because there's no sense putting up 4, 6, or 8. It ain't happening.
You like 12, by the way. Nearly 64% of you are saying 12. 30% are saying 16, and very few of you are saying 14. Have to laugh, David. I said the week was going by really fast earlier in the show. It was going by so fast that I post every hour of the show for a podcast immediately after the hour. When Pat Kirwan's interview ended, I stopped rolling the tape and was getting ready to edit. I'm like, wait a minute. We've still got another segment left in this hour.
Yes, we do.
So the week slowed down for me all of a sudden at about 8:34.
And there is a topic we've yet to bring up today that I would like to bring up now.
Okay, because I have like a couple myself, but we can work them into the bonus hour. So fire away.
Well, and quite frankly, this might not be a 13-minute topic here. But, we talked a little bit about the NBA and the series heading into tonight and this weekend. Well, are the Florida Panthers done? Is their reign over? I mean, the Lightning went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals to begin this decade. The Panthers have gone to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. They're down 2-0 to the Leafs, but they return home beginning tonight. Are the Panthers in trouble, or do you think the Panthers regroup in a big way?
I think they regroup in a big way. I don't know if they will win the series, but they are coming home. Unlike the Cavs and the Celtics that have dropped 2 games on their home court. And I know I'm contradicting myself slightly because Miller and Moulton don't buy into home court, ice, whatever, the way we once did. But I do think for the Panthers, getting different line matchups, getting a little separation of Kachuk's line from where they've been playing, I think will help because he was not productive at all in game 2. Didn't get any. I think he had 3 shots on goal and was a -2 in the game. I think it's important for Florida for the line matchups and the little thing, David, they've been getting killed at the faceoff circle.
Yes.
One of the things when you're at home, if you don't follow hockey closely and you're just starting to get into it, the visiting player has to put his stick down first. There is an advantage. The home team then puts their stick down second. The linesman then drops the puck. It is an advantage. Can that help Florida at all on the draws where they have been getting killed after dominating Tampa in the faceoff circle in round one? They're getting destroyed. And it's a small part of the game. But little things now, like when you get a power play and the power play immediately goes in the opposition's, you go into the attack zone. Those are big draws. That puts pressure on a team when you can establish time in the zone. You know, Carolina last night, despite not winning, they had things going well, and they had a shift, a 5-on-5 shift after an offensive zone faceoff, in which they kept the puck in the zone for like a minute 50. The pressure that puts on the other team, and then what that does for the rest of the period by taxing the guys' legs in their own zone is critically important. So I think the Panthers are fine. Obviously they've got to win both at home, but let's see. You've mentioned the Knicks many times and what they've done in the postseason to let their fan base down. Has any team let their fan base down in the postseason more than the Toronto Maple Leafs? If there's a team that can't finish, it's the Leafs. They've played differently in the first two, and they're getting scoring out of guys that they need to get it from. But I'm curious what happens when it switches to Sunrise.
By the way, they've yet to get a goal from Austin Matthews, and they're up 2-0. In fact, I think he has just the one assist on what turned out to be the game winner in game 2. So the Panthers have actually kept Austin Matthews, for all intents and purposes, off the scoreboard, and they're down 2-0. What I think does happen with the series shifting to Sunrise beginning tonight, the Leafs have been very effective on the rush in the first two games, which is very unusual. The Panthers usually don't let you get ahead of steam going. And they didn't let the Lightning get ahead of steam going, except for a little bit in game 3 when they lost 5-1. The Panthers are really good at standing you up at the blue line. They have not been able to do that nearly as effectively against the Leafs. I've got to believe beginning tonight that the Panthers, much like Mark when they lost the 3 in a row to the Oilers, and they came home for the game 7, and that was as tight checking as the Panthers can play. They basically said, you are not leaving your man. You're going to be in his jersey all night. All right. And we're just playing dump and chase, bang pucks on net, and rush the net hockey. And I have a feeling we're going to see hockey 101 from the Panthers tonight. And your point about faceoffs, they lost 60% in game 1. They lost 63% in game 2, did the Panthers. That has to change.
And David, to your point, watch for Florida to try to keep Toronto on the outside. Those rushes through the middle of the ice through the neutral zone is what Florida has to slow down. For the record, I checked yesterday to see what a ticket would cost to get into game 3. The cheapest ticket in a decent seat, because I like sitting upstairs in the corner. You can view the ice incredibly well. It's where a lot of scouts go to watch the game. But those tickets were like $150 yesterday, $174, I think. Right now, you can get a ticket for $70 to go to the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that tells me there's a lot less Canadians in the Miami-Dade, Fort Lauderdale area than there normally are.
No.
Okay.
It's May. They had to go home.
Well, and there's also a little something else going on. And
I know.
And people are holding a grudge because I'm with you. I thought that would have remained, okay, a healthy ticket because Leafs fans would have gobbled them up. So interesting.
I mean, in lots of tickets in the 70, upstairs seats, but in the $75, I mean, you could easily go to the game for under $100 a ticket tonight, which surprised me. Now, if you were to walk to the game, it would take a long time. Or if you were to walk to work. What's the longest walk you've ever been on, David?
All right. Don't laugh. grade school and junior high. Grade school, I took the bus. It was really junior high when I faked my mother out for years. I would walk to the school bus. Her car would pass the school bus. I then would walk to school. I did that for about 3 years. That was a 2-mile walk. There were times the golf course that I caddied at, all right, I had my bike stolen, and it took me a couple months to earn the money to buy a new bike. And I had to walk to and from the golf course. That was 4 miles. That's probably the longest walk I've ever had.
Paul Pierce made comments that he would walk to work if the Celtics lost game 2 of the series against the Knicks. Paul Pierce, maybe a lot of things, maybe a good guy, bad guy. I don't know. Paul Pierce does a good job on media, but he's a man of his word. Because after the Celtics lost, he made the 20-mile
Wow
to the studios. 20 miles.
How long did that take? Like 6 hours?
I think a little longer. 7 hours to walk 20 miles. A few fans heckled him. Apparently, Kevin Garnett heckled him while he was walking. And he said he would walk barefoot in a bathrobe. Now, the only thing he didn't do, and good for him, is he put shoes on. Because I can't imagine what that would do to your feet walking 20 hours barefoot.
Right.
But Paul Pierce fulfilled his promise walking 20 miles to the FS1 studios for work yesterday. That's fantastic.
Good for him.
Absolutely.
What time's his show? I'm trying to think.
He left at 8. I guess he left it early in the morning and got
to be.
Yeah, I mean, crack of dawn, basically.
Wow. So, if anything, we know Paul Pierce is a man of his word.
That's it.
Or he'll honor a bet anyway. If you shake hands with Paul Pierce, okay, the bet is on. He'll live up to it. Wow. Good for him.
20-mile walk. Apparently, he left his house at 5 in the morning and got there at 1 in the afternoon.
Wow.
That's awesome. I love every part of
that. Wonder if KG gave him a ride home.
Probably.
By the way, if you say you would walk to work, what if you stick your thumb out and somebody picks you up? Is that allowed or no?
No. By the way, I mean, have you hitchhiked before?
Yeah.
I mean, I did it a lot. I did it when I'd come on vacation in Florida and get from place to place. And I did it when I was pretty young. Like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I did it in my teens, and I had to do it once in my 20s. My car broke down, and I needed to get to a service station or what have you. And so I, was walking the highway, turning around, sticking the thumb out, and a guy in a truck, gave me a lift.
Would you hitchhike now?
If my car broke down, if I had to, yes. Okay, because the other thing is I would like to think if people saw me, obviously I'm gray, I'm older, I would like to think they would look at me and say, well, he doesn't look like an axe murderer.
Are you sure?
Well, that's what I said. I would like to think.
Or maybe just not an axe murderer, but just a little crazy. Hey, look at the old guy walking around with his thumb out. I don't think we should pick him up.
I would like to think if you saw someone who looked like me walking the side of the highway with his thumb out, that you would come to the conclusion something must have gone wrong for him. That this isn't a planned way of travel. This isn't a plot. That he's ad-libbing here. I would like to think that you would conclude that.
Poll question up. Would you pick up a hitchhiker? Yes or no?
Well, let's face it, none of us would pick up a hitchhiker if we had any family members in the car. So the question really is, if you're driving alone, would you pick up a hitchhiker?
Right. If this gets to 5%, yes, I would be impressed.
It does show you how things have changed, because when we were growing up, the answer probably would have been 60 to 70% yes.
I've picked up hitchhikers and I've hitchhiked, and I wouldn't do either now. Not a chance. Not a chance. But Paul Pierce made the 20-mile hike to work after essentially saying on air that I will walk to work in a bathrobe barefoot if the Celtics lose game 2.
I picked up a young lady about 20 years ago. I made her sit in the back seat because I just want, just sit in the back, enjoy your ride. I'll get you to where you want to go. Okay. Treat me as an Uber driver, taxi driver. I'm not going to exchange names. We're not going to,
or anything else if she's in the back seat.
Yeah. Just going to try
No
to get
chance
you
of that.
from point A to point B. Don't want there to be any discrepancy about what's going on here. That's all.
Miller and Moulton, insert your own joke here because I know that I am. Miller_Moulton on X is where you can vote on both of our poll questions. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? And now, would you pick up a hitchhiker? The bonus hour is next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. American Paint Supplies. For nearly 30 years is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I sent Felipe a text yesterday with the whole Pope thing going on because I saw a tweet that said, "Can't believe the Vatican is announcing the new Pope while wearing their City Connect uniforms."
That's funny.
I don't subscribe to Sportico, David. I don't know if you do.
No.
But I get a newsletter every day from Sport and Story Daily.
Okay.
One of the stories they have, and I can't read it because it's Sportico, but apparently FanDuel, or I guess Flutter, which owns Paddy Power, Betfair, Sky Betting and Gaming, and FanDuel, among other brands, released its first quarter earnings Wednesday. The first quarter handle grew in line with internal projections, but success in football and baseball papered over underwhelming numbers from basketball. People are not betting on basketball the way that they did, for what it's worth. I mean, the NBA numbers are up. That's a younger demo that you would think gambles, but not gambling. That's just interesting.
Maybe they don't have the money.
Could be. Who does? And Andrew Marchand's writing that YouTube is the heavy favorite to get the Friday NFL game. Oh, wow. Even better, you don't have to have the service. It's saying the game is to be expected to be available globally for free on YouTube TV. Interesting.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour in the 239 and the 904 on a Friday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. 2 poll questions today. Word came out yesterday, late in the day. College football playoff committee folks are thinking, we're at 12. We're talking about going to 14. Why don't we just go straight to 16? So we asked you, because we never go backwards, so we didn't give you a choice of going backwards. Which number would you prefer going forward, 12, 14, or 16? Right now, nearly 2/3 of you prefer the status quo at 12. Despite the issues that it had 1 year in, you prefer 12, then expanding it to 16, which would eliminate the buys and would then have 8 home games in the first round, not 4. So you're opting for more college football. Okay. And then we got kind of off the beaten path, and Paul Pierce walked to work yesterday because he lost a bet, and it took him 7 hours. And I asked if midway through, if you stuck your thumb out, could he have been picked up by a hitchhiker? Mark said no, that would have violated the bet. And then Mark asked me, did you ever hitchhike before? Ever pick up a hitchhiker? And so now that's our poll question. Would you pick up a hitchhiker?
21% of you would. I applaud the 21%. Last time I picked up a hitchhiker, I wasn't even in this country. We had a vacation over between Christmas and New Year's several years ago that I went to the Bahamas. My mom, my mother-in-law, my wife, my son, and I, and rented a house. And we also rented a car. It was the wildest car rental story that I've ever had because it was on North Eleuthera Island. And it's a very small airport. And I mean, we flew a private plane. I don't have that kind of money. It wasn't that expensive. Don't get all in a bunch. And worked out a deal to rent a car. It turned out that the baggage handler was also the person who rented me the car. And the car, it's because of taxes and different things, there are not a lot of new cars on this island. And we had I want to say it was a Ford Explorer. The back hatch didn't close. Like it would not lock. You could just open the back gate to the car. And we felt the whole time that the baggage handler just gave us a car to someone he knew, and we didn't actually rent a car from a car company. Like, I still don't know if this guy just pocketed the money and he knew these people were going to be gone for the week. But on that island, a lot of the locals hitchhike to get from work. Like I said, there's not hardly any automobiles on this island. And so routinely when we drove from the house we rented into town to pick up something, if I saw a couple guys walking, I'd just pull over and pick them up. And I took people never with my wife and daughter in the car, but with my son, who at the time wasn't even 16, but we routinely, where are you going? We're going up here. And so I did it all the time on that island and never felt a problem. I haven't done it in the United States. I'm 55. I don't think I've picked up a hitchhiker in 30 years.
Okay.
And I can safely say I don't anticipate ever doing it again.
And, a few people text me and were like, nowadays they'd call Uber. Well, not everybody's got the money. Okay. But I understand. There's more ways to get from point A to point B now. But, that's our poll question. That's our second poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Panthers play tonight and then play Sunday. Knicks and Celtics tomorrow afternoon at 3:30. Do the Cavs come back and make it a series against Indiana? First manager fired in baseball. I believe it's going to lead to 2 or 3 others getting fired before the month is done. The Pirates canning Derek Shelton yesterday. I mean, is it Bud Black's fault? The Rockies are 6-31? Of course not. But at some point, don't you look as if you don't care if you don't start making changes in Colorado? I mean, doesn't somebody, what's the story Pat Kirwan would tell? He'd walk into the locker room with Ron Wolf 30 plus years ago, and Wolf, if things weren't going well, Pat knew he was going to see someone and just say, get him out of here. I don't ever want to see him again.
7:00 tonight, Maple Leafs and Panthers. Panthers are a huge favorite on the betting line, -230 for Florida to get this to a 2-1 series deficit. I think those odds are incredibly high for Florida. With the way this series has been played, I wouldn't put that kind of money out to win 100. I think the Panthers are going to win, but I'm not that confident. Not the way Bobrovsky's been playing.
And the backup goalie's pretty good. Now, Toronto's going to have – I would count on Woll having to play the rest of the series. I mean, Stolarz, the Toronto starter, who got knocked out in game 1, he is not cleared to fly. So where do we think he is in the concussion protocol? I mean, do we think we're going to see him in this series? I mean, he'd have to be ready to play in 4 days for a game 5? If he's not cleared to fly now, I don't see it. So
Game 5 is Wednesday the 14th, for what it's worth. That would be the earliest. And I think you're right that it's a long shot at best, David.
I mean, I think that you're going to get the backup for the rest of the series. Now, we can debate the importance of goaltending because there have been some good goalies who have ended up winning the cup lately. Not necessarily great goalies, although Bobrovsky is. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame goalie. You could argue the difference between the two teams last year was in nets. Bobrovsky versus Skinner, Big Edge, Florida.
And think about that. Skinner plays the first 2 games. They get beat. They switch to the backup and haven't lost yet in Edmonton.
Right. They've won 6 in a row. And literally, he said, I haven't been a starting goalie since juniors. He was like Proctor, I think's his name, right? He hasn't been a starting goalie since he was like 15 years old. And here he is in Edmonton, up 2-0 in the second round. He's 6-0 in the playoffs.
And he made some big saves last night, although Edmonton outshot Vegas. Vegas had some golden opportunities in the overtime. So I think it matters, but Bobrovsky's got to be Bobrovsky, and he has not been in the first 2 games. And Toronto scored a power play goal, something Florida's not given up very many of in this postseason.
Well, Mark, it's not just that they scored a power play goal. They scored it with their second power play unit. Okay. It wasn't Matthews and Marner and them that were involved. They had taken the first shift on the power play. It was the second unit that scored the goal. Okay. Which to me is an even bigger win for the Leafs. So.
And to your point, they've done this without Matthews scoring a goal. So while we've talked about Florida and Tkachuk not being able to put the biscuit in the basket and having just 1 assist in this series so far, and they will need more out of him, the best goal scorer on Toronto's yet to light the lamp as well.
Calvin Pickard, by the way, my bad, not Proctor, Pickard. 33 years of age, the goalie for Edmonton.
Winning it very much last night, like the Edmonton Oilers in the glory days, a 5-4 win in which the goaltender gave up a couple in the third and played unbelievably well in overtime with a couple of key stops as finally Connor McDavid found some open ice late, going at the speed that no one else can in the league, walked around Eichel, hit Draisaitl for a pass, and Draisaitl basically had a 6x4 to shoot into.
Boy, Mark, did you call that? Okay. Replace the names Pickard, McDavid, and Draisaitl with Fuhr, Gretzky, and Curry, and it's exactly how they would win many a game back in the mid-'80s. My goodness. And we talk about it. Certain fan bases are used to a certain style of play. Okay. They love their hockey team, period, in Edmonton, but this team literally plays the way that the glory teams played back in the 80s. Not built to be a 2-1 team. Built to be at least a 4-3, and maybe even more needed than that team.
So that's going on tonight. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to go, tickets are not that outrageous. I'm stunned to see the ticket prices drop in the way that they have in the last 24 hours. You can get upstairs seats for like $75 tonight for Toronto and Florida in the playoffs. I'm trying to talk myself out of not going right now. I don't know if you can tell. It's like, well, I'd really like to go to one of these 2 games.
Once again, if you didn't have to negotiate, I know you'd be at the game tonight. I mean, hell, you could go, you'd have dinner nearby, do the game, you're home before midnight. That's if you stay to the very end. If you leave with like 5 minutes to go in the third, heck, you might be home by 11.
Now, there's a chance that it may happen because I have a 1:00 shotgun today.
There are a lot of hockey fans that I play golf with. If I can talk someone into going with me, we may just leave after the game and head right to Sunrise, and I'll just ask the wife to pick the daughter up from gymnastics and say, see you in the morning, honey. It's not outside of the realm of possibility right now.
And the good thing is, 7 o'clock does not mean 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock means 7:15. So you do have 15 extra minutes to get situated.
But game 3 tonight, Dallas and Winnipeg. Game 2, the Stars are up 1-0 in that series. NBA tonight, the Pacers up 2-0. They host the Cavs. The Cavs are 3.5-point favorites. And Oklahoma City, a 5.5-point favorite on the road in Denver. That series tied at 1 as well. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? 12, 14, 16? That's one of our 2 poll questions. The other is, would you pick up a hitchhiker? Go to Miller_Moulton to vote. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I got something a little off the beaten path here, if you want.
All right. And by the way, I was wrong. It's not YouTube TV. It's YouTube is going to have the game. Yeah, that would work out well, Sonny. I'd go to a game and then go to a strip joint and come home smelling like a hooker. My wife would love that. Holy cow. Did you see this Belichick story?
That she's been barred from the
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah. Is that where you're going to go?
No, but we can go there. We can start there.
There's another rocker by the name of Miles Kennedy, David, and I'm not familiar with him. And I looked at the bands, I'm still not. But Disturbed brought him out to do Sound to Silence.
Yeah.
He did it as a duet. I listened to a couple minutes of it. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X, broadcasting live from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, all coming up, a little more than 15 minutes time. 2 poll questions. Would you pick up a hitchhiker? Yes or no? It's about 80-20 no right now. And college football playoff, word came out yesterday, likely going to go to 16 teams. They're currently at 12. The talk was before yesterday that they would go to just 14. Which is your preference of the 3, 12, 14, or 16? Looks as if your overwhelming preference is 12. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on X. So there's some developing situation on the Belichick front in the last 24 hours. Isn't that fair to say?
Right.
So he made an appearance yesterday. I think it was in New York. And the young lady in his life was not with him. And instead, a former NFL PR person was accompanying him. So that raised a few eyebrows. And now there's another story about Bill.
Yes, there is. Apparently, the highest paid employee in the state of North Carolina is no longer allowed to have his girlfriend at the football facility. She has been banned from the football building. She is not allowed on the football field. And the quote says, "Don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward."
Well, how things have progressed. Now, reportedly, Belichick's family was concerned. Friends of his saying, listen, that CBS interview fallout did you real image damage, and you got to do something about it. People blamed it. I guess Belichick had a long time PR guy, and that guy hasn't been with him for a few years now. And friends of his are saying, yeah, he misses him. He needs him. So I guess Belichick is, I mean, I don't know if he's moving on to Cincinnati, but he seems to be doing things a little differently in the last 24 hours.
Barred from the football facility.
Mm-hmm.
A girlfriend. I'm trying to think. First off, a girlfriend at the football facility seems preposterous to me for GM, coach, player.
I mean, I could do the scenario. They show up with food at dinner time, and, you know, you're going to stay at the office and work all night. And so they, you know, the girlfriend pops by to spend a half hour with you. Here's some food. They eat dinner in the office, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you're otherwise, yeah, it's a tough look.
And you know what? You're right. There may be a bunch of coaches' wives out there that are making some meatloaf so they can spend a little bit more time with their husband at the facility. But now, whether it's college or pro, you see these facilities have basically 4-star restaurants in them. All of them do.
Yeah, but come on. It can't compare to, you know, some home-cooked meatloaf.
What do you think Jordan's best dish is? Do you think she can make anything better than warmed up ramen?
But Mark, it's the thought, obviously. It's the thought. You know, taking the time to do it, thinking of you. You're supposed to appreciate the thought and the effort. It's my way of saying I'm fond of you. Okay. Now here's some food that otherwise you wouldn't normally eat. All right. And then when I leave, you can go down the hall and get what you really want. Come on now. Besides, maybe she's just picking up, you know, she's essentially Uber Eats. She goes and picks something up and delivers it. You know, that's all.
What is this, the end of the movie Arthur, when Arthur's bringing his butler there, restaurant food from all over Manhattan so he gets his best meal? Yes, I just dated myself with that comment, but that's a great movie. Oh, you're a hedge. But neither here nor there. But yes, Jordan has been banned from the football facility at North Carolina. It is a story that is definitely progressing in an interesting way.
Listen, there's going to be a lot of quote unquote leaks beginning Monday. The leaks are official. Like there are planned schedule announcements Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning before the schedule is officially released at 8:00 Wednesday night. I mean, NBC, Fox, and Amazon are all given permission to announce one of their games Monday morning. ESPN will reveal one of their games Monday morning. And then all 7 international games Tuesday will be revealed on NFL Network's Good Morning Football. And CBS and Netflix will be announcing one game Wednesday morning that they have before the 8 p.m. primetime schedule show. But there are a few people, Mark, saying that they've got the info on the international games. Now, we'll find out in a few days if they're right. But it's out there in the last 24 hours that, first off, you said that the week 1 Friday game that's in Brazil is going to be on YouTube.
It looks as if right now they haven't announced it, but everything that I'm reading from the media sources that I trust is that it's going to be on YouTube, not YouTube TV. YouTube. That means it's free to everyone.
Reportedly, it will be now a Chargers home game. Okay, the Chargers is the home team in Brazil. Reports that week 4, the game in Dublin, the Steelers are the home team. Week 5 in London, Vikings at Browns is out there. And I say at Browns because the AFC gets the 9 home games this year. So, AFC teams will be the ones that are playing and, quote, hosting all these international games. Week 6 in London is reportedly going to be Denver at the Jets. Week 7 in London will be the annual Jags home game, and reportedly they're hosting the Rams. Now, the game in Spain, the premier, president, prince, prime minister, don't know who it was, but he's already leaked that the game will be week 11, November 16th. It now reportedly, the game is the Commanders at the Dolphins. So we'll see. Also, for what it's worth, reportedly, the Lions game is getting moved to 1 o'clock on Thanksgiving. It's always been 12:30. They're like, yeah, we're not kicking off the Cowboys game till about 4:40. No need to start them at 12:30. So 1 o'clock apparently will be the Lions home game on Fox this Thanksgiving.
Speaking of the Dolphins, they have signed all of their draft picks with the exception of the lineman from Arizona. And with the Texans giving that guaranteed contract to their second-round pick, people are wondering if it's a little more complicated with this pick for the Dolphins. He's the only rookie that hasn't signed as they're ready to have their rookie camp. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when, what's on tap, and maybe we'll make a pick or two. That's all coming up next on Miller and Moulton.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
Irish football, show how I really feel about what? I kind of missed that. I don't about Belichick's girlfriend. That's what we talked about there, so I'm not sure. Hitchhikers? I don't know. Do we do what? I don't know what YAOI is, so I apologize for my ignorance.
And if he doesn't know, I certainly don't.
No, I mean, I don't know what you're really trying to get at, but no, that's not my thing. If it's yours, that's great. Upstate lost their best player to College of Charleston.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till we're done for the week. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So would you pick up a hitchhiker? It's one of our poll questions. And the current college football playoffs had 12 teams. The thought was it was going to go to 14. And now maybe it looks like they're going to 16. So just if you had your preference, which would you choose, 12, 14, or 16? 60+% of you say 12. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. Visit them online at GameDayMen'sHealth.com or visit their locations in either Bonita Springs or Naples. Be sure to mention Miller and Moulton for 10% off of your services. We start in 1386 today, David.
Wow.
The Treaty of Windsor between Portugal and England is ratified, cementing and strengthening ties between the two kingdoms. It is the oldest diplomatic alliance still in force. Nearly 700 years. That's impressive. Today in 1865, President Andrew Johnson issues a proclamation declaring armed resistance in the South is virtually at an end. This is commonly accepted as the end date of the American Civil War. 1914, President Woodrow Wilson proclaims Mother's Day. The Hitchcock film Vertigo was released today in 1958. Today in 1960, the United States became the first country to legalize the birth control pill. Way to go, U.S. 1970, the number one hit in America was American Woman. Most people really didn't get it because the song's a tribute to the women of Canada.
You know, I was politely chastised from a big fan of the show and longtime listener yesterday who took exception with me coming to the conclusion that yesterday we celebrated the theme to Welcome Back Kotter being the number one song in the country in 1976. And I said that was further proof of the amount of cocaine that we were doing in the 70s. And he politely took exception. He told me how we kind of went through a phase as a country where we had a lot of shows, theme songs that got a lot of airplay on the radio and what have you. And I said to him, I said, listen, I can tolerate it being a top 100. I can even go, okay, a top 40. We're talking about it being the number one song in the land. That's all. I'll say it again. Springsteen has never had a number one song.
I would challenge you. Tell me what the other songs were we were listening to that were theme songs, because I'm racking my brains right now. The Friends theme song, but that's a generation later. So I would love to know what songs he's speaking of.
I will go back to Larry's email. Don't know if I'll be able to update it during this show, but maybe.
But we can do this off air. I've got no problem. All right, 1974. This is for you, David. And also a little bit for me, because I am not a big fan of this person, and now I have a much more greater appreciation of one Bonnie Raitt. Today in 74, Springsteen gets a huge boost from Bonnie Raitt. He opens for her at her Boston Arena show, and at her insistence, she tells him to play his full act, which at that time was 2 hours. He was so impressive that Rolling Stone's John Lando writes in Boston's Real Paper, I saw rock and roll's future, and its name is Bruce Springsteen.
On a night when I needed to feel young, he made me feel like I was hearing music for the very first time. Lando would go on to become Springsteen's manager and producer. 1987, the Grateful Dead shoot their first video for Touch of Grey. They did it after a concert in Monterey. After the show, they brought the audience back to watch two different performances of the song, one by the band and one by their skeleton likeness. 1992, the final episode of Golden Girls aired on NBC, and later that night on NBC, Springsteen performs on US TV for the first time when he finally accepts an offer to be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. And in 2022, the Warhol portrait of Marilyn Monroe sells for $195 million at an auction in New York, the highest price ever for an American artwork. Harry Vardon, who won 6 British Opens and 1 U.S. Open, Mike Wallace, and Tony Gwynn would have all celebrated birthdays today. Billy Joel is 76, Steve Yzerman is 60, and David's favorite, Shabuzi, is 30. What did I miss, David?
Gesundheit. Remember Dianetics? L. Ron Hubbard?
Yes.
Okay, published today in 1950. You remember in 64, there was this group from Great Britain called the Beatles? All right, and they came over and they had this string of hits. They were the number one in the country for months in 1964. Until today, for 1 week, do you know who knocked the Beatles out of number one?
Yes, I do, David. That would be Louis Armstrong and Hello, Dolly.
Unbelievable. And in 74, today, 51 years ago, the House voted for the first time to begin impeachment proceedings against President Nixon. He still had the gig for 3 months.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Connecticut for the good, where firefighters used a lifeboat to get a vehicle and a person out of a pond after the car had driven into the roadway. The car, however, happened to be a police cruiser, and the driver was a police officer. I'm guessing that police officer will never, ever be able to live that one down. For the bad, we go to Collier County, where 2 convicted felons were arrested yesterday after deputies say they stole hundreds of dollars worth of tequila from a local store. Courtney Bryant and Nikita Hicks, both of Miami, were hiding bottles of Don Julio and Silver Patron before leaving the store. When they were arrested, there was many other items in their car that had been a run of petty thefts at liquor stores and other stores. They'll spend even more time in jail being convicted felons. And finally, the ugly, we go to Inglewood, where thank goodness for a couple of good Samaritans who had to nearly pay a dear price to help out an animal. Anthony Panagopoulos locked his dog in the car while he went into the store. The window was barely open, and 2 women who were employees of the local Humane Society saw the German Shepherd mix and tried to get the dog some water. When the man came out, he yelled at the Samaritans and moved his car to another spot and went back into the store. That's when they called 911. The man came out and said, "I'll kick your ass," and put the car in reverse, nearly hitting the 2 good Samaritans. Fortunately, police were able to apprehend the man, and he was arrested. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Friday, May the 9th, here on Miller and Moulton.
So, do we bet the Pirates tonight because it's the first game with the new manager?
Ooh,
I know.
that's a tough one.
They're home for the Braves. The Braves with a chance. By the way, the Braves with a chance to get to 500 tonight after being 5-13 to start the year, have a chance to get to 19-19 tonight. Okay. But do we, we love betting the team's first game after they fire a coach or a manager.
I know.
So just wondering, Pirates have lost 6, 7 in a row, 7 in a row. Just throwing it out there. Okay. I think you can even get you can get some odds. I mean, you can get the Braves are minus 150. I mean, we can get a little something. That's all. By the way, some really good baseball series this weekend involving playoff teams meeting each other. I mean, we'll get the obligatory Rays are hosting Milwaukee. Marlins on the south side against the new Pope White Sox. How about that series, by the way? Marlins, White Sox. Ooh, let's check the attendance for that series. But Cubs at Mets for 3. How about Phillies at Guardians for 3? How about even Boston and Kansas City for 3? Giants, Twins don't have a good record, but they've won 5 in a row. Giants at Twins. How about Dodgers at Diamondbacks continuing their 4-game series? And shockingly, if the A's were in the AL East, Mark, do you know how many games they'd be behind the Yankees?
I don't think many at all. What, a game maybe?
A game and a half.
Okay.
And the Yankees are in Sacramento to face the A's. I'd certainly like to think they could sell out the ballpark this weekend. Please tell me they can sell out 14 and change for a 3-game series against the Yankees. I mean, come on. If Aaron Judge was within 2 hours of you, you wouldn't pay to go see Aaron Judge get 5 at-bats. I would.
100%. 100%. You are right. Some nice little baseball series going on. We've got a golf tournament that's a signature event. The good players started out playing pretty well. They're tearing this course apart. They play early today, by the way. They moved all of the tee times up because they are expecting rain this afternoon. So I'm guessing Golf Channel will have some early afternoon golf if you are so inclined. If not, it'll be on ESPN Plus, right?
Well, in fact, the Golf Channel moved up their coverage to 11 a.m. An hour from now, you'll be able to see live golf on the Golf Channel. Mitchell, who was 9 under yesterday, 2 under through 7. Straka, who was 7 under yesterday, 3 under through his first 5. So, course does look to be playing slightly harder today than yesterday, but it's early. Okay, NBA tonight. ESPN, the doubleheader, 7:30 and 10. Cavs, Pacers early, Thunder, Nuggets late. Both home teams, the betting underdogs. Pacers getting 3.5. I'd have to pound the Pacers tonight. That's wow. And Denver's getting 5.5 against Oklahoma City. For what it's worth, tonight's double dip is Sunday's NBA schedule as well. Tomorrow's NBA schedule is Knicks at 3:30, Warriors in the evening. Both of those games, I believe, are on ABC.
A Saturday 3:30 NBA game. That is an interesting time for Knicks and Celtics. That one just surprises the hell out of me, David.
Tonight in the NHL, Panthers try to get back in the series with the Leafs, followed by Winnipeg in a must-win seemingly situation at home, down 1-0 against Dallas. TNT has the hockey tonight. By the way, these 2 games are the Sunday NHL schedule. The Saturday NHL schedule is what we had last night. Game 3 in Carolina, Washington and the Canes. Game 3 in Edmonton, Vegas and the Oilers.
This and that should be on a roll tonight.
the unabashed Leafs fan with them up 2-0 in the series. I mean, he had Kachuk on his podcast and just annihilated him with questions, like was rotten to him.
Yes. So
like
much
he
so,
was playing for the Leafs.
yeah, like the other guys I thought on the podcast finally said, listen, we apologize. We're going to get him off the rest of the podcast. This is unfair to you. Well, and we know Bissonnette's friendly rivalry with Marchand. Now, Marchand, previously this year, has been willing to come on pregame and do the dog and pony show with Bissonnette. I'll be curious if he does it in the playoffs down 2-0.
Not a chance. I wouldn't.
No.
I'd be shocked if he does. But the Panthers trying to get back into the series tonight. They're down 2-0 to the Leafs, and they host tonight at sunrise. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.